What do we got? Good morning, everyone. NFP non-farm payrolls coming in, expected at 200,000. Adair, do we have a number?
Yeah, we have the number. So non-farm payrolls here are 206,000 versus the consensus of 190,000. That's going to be higher than expected. Average hourly earnings here 3.9%, exactly in line with expectations. But unemployment here a bit higher as well, 4.1% versus consensus of 4%. So we got quite a few numbers of the main numbers here. We did have non-farm payrolls and unemployment both higher than expected. 206,000 versus 190,000 for non-farm, and 4.1 versus 4% expected for unemployment rate.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The unemployment rate was 4%, as you mentioned last time, and we were looking for slack to come in there. The market liking what they see. Another all-time high here on the ES printing. 56.05 on the September contract. We'll have to see if we can hold at this 5,600 point level right now. A little bit of zig, a little bit of zag there, but we'll have to keep an eye on this number. It has been kind of one of those ones where we've been anticipating some weakness to come in. We had a bunch of numbers come in earlier this year that we kind of, they were higher than expected, and we kind of attributed that to some seasonality with possibly some jobs coming in there for the Christmas season, but that was outdone last month when we printed a lot higher than expected. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. A lot of headlines this morning, guys. Bitcoin plunging over the July 4th weekend as a result of the Mt. Gox $9 billion user payout, all the way down to 55,000. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And Tesla shareholders have been absolutely smoked the past couple of days, losing to a tune of $3.5 billion as that stock has really recovered off there. And the EU looking to also get some more information from Amazon and their compliance with the Digital Service Act.
Yes, because it feels like every other day we get some more EU-related news. Earlier this week, they're charging Meta over their ad tier. Last week, we had some issues with Microsoft and its bundling of services. Now they're coming after Amazon, basically saying they want more information with regards to some of their services. It's going to be coming in with regards, I specifically believe, with regards to their ads and what they're promoting there. So we're going to have to see how that goes. They have until July 26th. Comply.
Very active over there in Europe. A couple of elections, obviously, the English election there, as well as the tariffs that they want to impose on Chinese EVs. That took effect overnight, and it's going to last till November of this month. The tariffs are going to range from 17.5% to 37.5% a day for NIO, XPEV, Li, BYD, and even Teslas that are made in China.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting story for sure with regards to those EU tariffs. We also have apparently China is looking to maybe retaliate from what I'm hearing. They're interested in some tariffs on cognac and pork, amongst other things. Again, this is just speculative, but apparently there are 4 months of these provisional tariffs. Then after 4 months, we'll have to see how discussions go, if this continues or what the situation is here. But at least for these 4 months, pretty steep tariffs sending these Chinese EVs to the downside.
Sean's off today, guys. He's got one more day, and then he comes off. He comes back on Monday. We'll be filling in for Sean. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Looks like it's going to be a wild one after all. Hey, man, bad news is good, right? So in a case where you have a little bit of weakness in the labor market, unemployment rate spikes a little bit, you're going to get the market liking that for now. So the NASDAQ up a couple points. Well, okay. A quarter of a point here, a couple of tenths of a point. But hey, the short sellers are getting burned over in Tesla. And on top of that, looks like Tesla's senior VP was briefing Chinese Premier Li Huang on full self-drive. So Tesla also getting that news, up a couple of points. I think the big story is just the trend in Tesla. It's just continuation from the monster delivery beat. And expectations were certainly met and exceeded. About 3.5% short, which is huge for a big name like Tesla. We'll look for some more continuation. You didn't really need much of anything the last couple of sessions. Find yourself a Tesla long, and that worked. But I got to remind everybody, on that half day on Wednesday, it was not just Tesla. Late in the day, we had the Pelosi bounce in NVDA as well. So NVDA can be squarely on radar. It held a great consolidation up top. The bad news, of course, is going to be the Bitcoin move to the downside. So if you're looking at things today, like I have my four charts. When I look up, it's going to be Tesla, NVIDIA, Mara, and Koss. And I feel like that should be obvious. Those are the names that are going to be in play. Any crypto-related name should be in play. Koss, of course, a squeeze name, up 30% again for reasons unknown, Obi. But wow, it's just Tesla doing more volume. Although this morning, NVIDIA is leading Tesla in volume. You just got to remember, Tesla's a lot more expensive. It's $250. So notionally, Tesla's still the king of pre-market volume.
Yeah, definitely. I think those you covered up pretty much the main watches for today for myself as well. Tesla definitely on watch. Pushing to some fresh highs of 253. We saw how well it closed going into the end of the day. I was watching this. Was it the 4 or 5 p.m.? I guess 4 p.m. close as well. Early after hours due to a half day on Wednesday. And yeah, it comes right into it. Gives us that 250 in the pre-market as of right now. So definitely going to be watching some of these pre-market levels. I have prior day high, which is confluencing with some of these pre-market lows right here. 248s, 248 halves. Prior day high being specifically 248.34, and then pre-market lows being right at 248.60, so about a 30 penny kind of a difference there, but definitely going to be watching that level to see if that'll come in. This will be the third day that Tesla has been running quite aggressively, right? So going to keep that on watch. Actually, maybe the fourth day, 1, 2, 3, 2.5, and then fourth day potentially today as well. So let's see how well some of this trend kind of continues on. And NVIDIA, yeah, and NVIDIA I haven't really, I wasn't really watching it on Wednesday. Well, I was watching it, but didn't really participate in the move there. But yeah, definitely a catalyst driven. Pelosi says she bought more, and yeah, so it just starts ripping on that. Now, bigger picture on this one. Going to the daily here, got to note that it is breaking out of a consolidation, or attempting to, as of the last trading day. You can see the sideways consolidation we've been having. We keep talking about that 123 area, but it seems like some of these lows, 118 to 127s, and we're pushing for some of those highs there. So yeah, it'll be I'm curious to know. It'll definitely be interesting what NVIDIA will have in store for us today. So let's see, 20,400, 20,500, maybe within the stars as well. You can see that NQ did a little bit of a dance up there on that 830 number, all the way up to 20,500. So should be interesting. Let's see. Shortened week this week, Friday.
Another day, another good move up for Koss. KOSS, one of those names that we attribute to the meme stock craze of 2021. Got a real nice bump up starting in the pre-market on, what day were we back? Wednesday, right? There we go. Yeah. I'll get it. On Wednesday, guys, it shot up into about $18.50, and you can see sold off aggressively, closed up above $10 a day at that $10.60 area, doing volume again and moving up in the pre-market. What's the reason this is moving up?
The reason is basically Roaring Kitty, apparently back in May, someone on Reddit found this old post from May. It is a photo of a microphone with the American flag in the background. So basically this person saw this, said, hey, maybe Roaring Kitty is trying to get involved in microphone and headphone distributor Koss heading into the 4th of July. Unclear if that is real, but that was the reason that all of this came pouring up with the speculation. Some details on this include a $5 million float. 4.4% of that, from what I'm seeing, is short. But again, there's different details in different places. Market cap just under $100 million. I'm seeing 98 million. Also, there's the Meta wound, which Neil was asking about. I found no details on this in terms of news. But MDWD, this one does have a market cap around $134 million, float of about 6.84 million shares, 2.8% short float, lots of social media interest.
Yeah, and just to mention, guys, Koss did 64 million shares on Wednesday on a shortened day, by the way, and it surged 144%. Keep your eye on this one. It can go parabolic. I watched this with my own eyes move from $10 to $170 in the pre-market. Neil, tell them all about it.
Well, I mean, you might have watched it with your own eyes, but like I watched it with somebody else's eyes, because like it's just a complete disbelief is what I've got right now. Like I feel like I'm not talking about like back when it was doing the meme stock, because when all the meme stocks were going like back, it was a different story. Like now, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm not gonna pretend to anybody that a tweet from like literally it's not even recent, but like, he foreshadowed that he might be interested in Koss on July the 4th. Based on that, what's going on? But it doesn't matter. You just got to trade price action. I'm not even trying with the logic of this. We did trade some Koss on Friday. I bungled along early. I didn't know it was going to go parabolic. Nobody did at that point. But certainly, we're not going to see any of those levels barring any kind of disaster. The market closed at 1 o'clock, but keep in mind here, there was a lot of movement in Koss aftermarket into 4 o'clock. So 1 to 4 o'clock, the aftermarket session did last until 5 o'clock. But you had this nice bounce, and it closed at around $10. Got all the way up to 13. So this is not a random price that it's holding here in the pre-market, this 13 quarter. It is the aftermarket high from Wednesday. If it holds on to that, I think it has a chance to retest 16, which was an abject failure for the stock. If you were watching and paying attention, when it got up there, it was pretty nasty. There's really not that much to look at in terms of bag hold levels until you get to 20 bucks. Like if you pull a weekly chart up of Koss, like I chuckle because you do have to get to 20. There you go. Now you can actually see like the nonsense that it was before. But you got $23 in here, which was like a crazy wick, and then a consolidation right in and around like 18, 19. That's more or less what happened on Friday. I'm gonna get this out of the way. I'm gonna probably refer to Wednesday as Friday a few times. Today has like a weird Monday feel because we had yesterday off. So on Wednesday, you failed up at that 19 level. 22, 23 would be the level out above it. If we never get this break, like 16, if we can't try to fill in that gap, it could be another short. I feel like the catalyst is a little bit weak here. I know it's a lot of social media love and it's a short float, and I'm willing to go long if we can find some dip buys either off the 13 or maybe the $10 level. But if you fail break 16 even where it dumped on Wednesday, at least I've paid for shorts to be ready for it. And that MDWD, Metawound, I think it's called. Look, this one, without any news on it, it's been, a lot of times, usually a stock like this, okay, I'm expecting to see it did some action the day before, but if anything, it was weak the previous session. But what's interesting here is the volume and spread is not very nice. So I'd be really cautious with this. When you look at Koss doing 5-6 million shares of volume in the pre-market, and you look at this doing a few 100,000 shares of volume, I know which one is a little bit better for a day trader. So I'd like to see a little more volume. It's probably a high halt risk, this MDWD, based on the liquidity that I'm seeing. So we'll maybe let this one calm down after the open. If it does a halt right away at the open, maybe look for like an initial push and grab that break on a halt. But yeah, this is very thinly traded from what I'm seeing. Much rather be interested in Koss today. And there's so many bangers. Like you actually didn't need any of the low float runners the way that Tesla and NVDA were going on Friday. So it's not a must, but if you got to choose, at least Koss has good volume.
Yeah, no, I like the look on Koss, and definitely we know what it's capable of doing. Not as much of a short float as it's had in the past. I'm seeing here 7.75, 7.74% short float, but definitely you can see that the power that Roaring Kitty and his followers do have in some of these moves. And of course, everybody's kind of hopping on the bandwagon as well. You can see that volume coming in both times. Two significant moments on Wednesday there. The break of this initial morning high right there, you can see that volume coming right back in. Volume dies out. Price doesn't get too far, and then volume picks right back in through that breakout, starts to accelerate, and maybe a little bit of a squeezing action as it halts multiple times to the upside and a couple times to the downside as well, going into the close there. So we are holding some of those levels up in and above that $10 level. So I do want to take a quick look back here, but we haven't necessarily broken out of these prior day highs here on Koss. So I'm going to be watching that 1870s level. Seems quite interesting. Let's go back a little bit further there. I'm just going to go on a 3-hour chart because I want to see some of these pre-market and after-hour activities as well. So we can see that it's been having a little bit of a build-up for the past couple of months, since about May, it's been kind of starting to get going again. You can see this nice little trickle down. So it seems like this is a little bit of a bigger picture move potentially going on, maybe a longer term liquidity trap here as well. You can see it did some of that volume in mid-May, and we are squeezing now off of some of those tops, that $6 level, $7 level as well. So just looking back at it, 2021 was when it had its craziness, along with the other meme tickers there. So you can see that alert I just put in, that 18. So we are pushing some of those prior highs there. 24, as I'm seeing, is the last level that we kind of accelerated up to and then failed that one there. So I think if we break that 18, 19 level, just looking back at it, I think we have room until some of these mid to low 20s there. Here on Koss. So I'll definitely be watching it, but my main tickers on my radar today are definitely going to be NVDA and Tesla. So
before we go back to the desk, I just caught this on Benzinga. MetaWound has possible interest from Solventum buying them for 34 a share. That was just the headline. Obviously, being interested in buying and actually making an offer. Would it be cash? Would it be stock? Would it be cash and stock? A lot of things go into it. But if it's true, 34 cash, I mean, trading at 21, I'd love to see a headline confirming that, because that's a ways away from that speculative price. So that's the news for MetaWound. 34 when it's trading at 21. Worth keeping our eyes on that, because that doesn't seem... Usually, if someone has interest in a stock at $34 and it's real, it doesn't trade at 21.
Heads continue to roll at Rivian, and changes continue to unfold. The chief accounting officer, Jeffrey Baker, resigning from the 27th of July to pursue another opportunity. Rivian not doing much at the moment, down 0.5%, but this is after earlier in the week when we got many different updates about their deal with Volkswagen.
So many different updates with Rivian. They do also have a 13.3% short float, worth noting here. But yeah, Volkswagen and Rivian saying that earlier reports that their software deal will also include a hardware portion are untrue. No hardware deal for Volkswagen and Rivian. Also worth noting, they had their delivery numbers come out on Tuesday alongside Tesla, though Tesla usurped them on that news. However, Rivian did maintain its 57,000 vehicle delivery goal, which means it has to be delivering 18,000 a quarter for the next 2 quarters. So quite a steep goal for Rivian, but the market reacting positively to that.
All right, let's bring in Michael Noss, chartered market technician there at Trade Ideas. And Noss Boss always ready to give us his take as to what's going to go on these markets. Michael, there's an election this year? I wasn't aware of that.
You're lucky, I guess, if you ever aware of that.
So we're going to talk a little election cycle today. What do you got for us?
Absolutely. So I was talking about this with Brendan in the Monday show. He asked to do a little bit of analysis on the election cycle when it comes to seasonality and it comes to stocks. And, I just want to make this clear. I'm Canadian. All the guys at Trader TV are also Canadian. We don't have a dog in the fight, right? All we're doing is we're looking at a repeatable 4-year cycle that seems to happen in the States that seems to have a pretty good effect on what's going to happen in the market when it comes to trending or choppy type behavior. And my first slide here is to kind of prove that, right? So this is just basically the compound annual return for the S&P 500 in all of the different presidents, the reds are the Republican, the blue are the Democrat. You can see it's pretty much just the same, right? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but the market seems to care when it comes to things like certainty. So the next chart I'm going to show, a lot of these are from my friends over at All Star Charts. So shout out to them. They make fantastic charts. Now, this chart is split into 4 quartiles, right? So showing all the way on the far left is going to be your post-election. So what happens after the election? And the blue line is the average of all of the years kind of split into these 4-year cycles. So kind of like exactly what we saw. We had a nice uptrending year after the post-election. Then we had the midterm cycle, which I believe would be of 2022, and that was a choppy year, and we all know what happened in 2022. It was a pretty choppy year. And then in 2023, a nice uptrend should be what's happening, and that's what happened in 2023. And 2024, we're about halfway through the year, but this election cycle has been following really, really good. And since we are in the election year cycle, that's the one we will zoom into a little bit. So the next chart here is another view of kind of the same chart where we're splitting out all of the different years by color and splitting them up by month, essentially, each month. So when it comes to the pre-election year cycle, or the cycle we're in, that's going to be the blue chart on top. So you can see, generally speaking, you have a nice early year, and then you enter a bit of a chop zone where starting in July, and I've got a zoomed in version of this we'll talk about, starting in July until about November, you get some sort of chop. Yeah, this is the one right here. So this is a split of just all election years since 1950. So it's a huge, huge data set versus kind of what we're seeing in the S&P 500 this year. Now, we've done a little bit better on that January, February, March area. We've done actually way better than that. But we are nearing this August, September, October type of area where if we go to the S&P 500 chart, you can see we should be expecting a little bit of chop going forward from about August until November. Now, the reason for this, I'm not a huge seasonality guy when it comes to, sell in May and go away and a lot of these things. I like to focus on the seasonality side of things that actually, I think, affect the most. And this one makes a lot of sense to me, right? If you're looking here in August, it seems like when the election is starting to really gear up for the Americans, where they're starting to have debates and all of this, and the market is uncertain about its future, right? We talked about it really doesn't matter who wins at the end of the day, but what's happening here is the market is seeing this period of uncertainty where they're, looking at polls and no one really knows what's going to happen next. And then at the beginning of November, after the election, you generally have a nice uptrend until the end of the year. Now, like always, there's nothing for sure in the market. We don't have to follow this pattern. But with a lot of the things that I showed on Monday's show with the fresh monthly charts, it's just giving me a little bit of pause to say we are entering a historically choppy period in the market. And there are some signs out there that the market is due for some chop. So for me, as a kind of longer term type swing trader, it just allows me to focus and say, okay, I'm going to be more about buying dips and selling rips and less about buying uptrends and holding them for the long period of time. So last chart I have here in the deck, this is just the S&P 500. So the first box is just showing that we did follow that kind of March, April chop where we had that pullback. And the second box is where we're going to expect more pullback. So yes, we had all-time high breakouts yesterday. The market so far this morning with this number looks okay. We're talking a little bit longer term here where, again, the end of July through about November, historically, we can expect some chop. I'm seeing some signs that might be occurring. So for me, it's just how I'm going to approach the market. Now, if we just rip through here and continue new highs, I think that's also data. But for now, I'm going to be following, I think, the seasonality cycles.
And it's interesting, Michael, because the last 4 years, I'm quite certain we've sold off quite aggressively from that, late summer, early fall until that late fall, early winter kind of timeline. And that seems to be basically what you're predicting, or not you, but the data is predicting this time around with the election cycle. So does that really change much for us when we get that kind of late year sell-off and then, going into the new year, we get a bit of a rally? At least that's been the last 4 years or so.
Yeah, and so really now it's the discussion about timeframes. So if I'm a long-term investor and I'm just watching here and I'm saying I want to put some money to work and I have, I want to buy the S&P 500 and I'm a long-term investor. Well, if the cycle is going to hold true and we're going to get a lot of choppy and maybe a little bit of a sell-off during these summer months, then that's great. I'll wait for then. I'll use those dips as chances to buy. If I'm a short-term swing trader like myself, maybe I'm buying breakouts a little bit less and I'm buying pullbacks a little bit more. If I'm a day trader, it just means I'm going to have more volatility. So, as a day trader, I'm going to be looking for stocks to hit resistance to short, and I'm going to be looking for stocks to hit support and buy. It's not so much I'm going to, short because there's a potential top coming in and all of that. It's more of just if I know what environment I'm getting into, I can really curb my trading strategy to hopefully do very well in that environment.
And I like that initial bar chart that you showed on the first slide there is kind of, regardless of who's in power, green or sorry, blue or red, there seems to be outlying years for both. Like you have Bill Clinton up here, 15.2% increase during his tenure. Didn't really expect that. Knew the 90s were strong, but didn't expect to see that. That's a great look there. Thank you, Michael, for that very interesting data point.
Thank you.
Thanks as always, Michael. And you know, one of the interesting things, like Obi and I were talking before we came on here. It's like,
You
okay,
have a
well,
good weekend.
what was relatively, what might have given you some opportunities for shorts? Obviously, NVIDIA, you know, turned into an upward trend. Tesla's been in an upward trend. So if you're looking for strength on names that are strong, but if there is a chance at chop, then things that fail highs can be trades. Like classic signs of a turnaround or a resistance level. Amazon could be a pretty decent example of that. Like you look at something which has been tearing a couple of weeks ago, it was a great breakout here on Amazon into the 200. Like you look at it, it's a pretty clean breakout, that 191. There's a reason we liked it a couple of weeks ago for a play. It was a strong stock breaking a high. It goes right into 200. But if you look back at the last couple of sessions, you had nice higher lows into what seemed like a good break, and it failed it on Wednesday. And it failed it pretty darn big. Like right through that 200, back through, down into the 197. If we have a red day today, if the market is relatively weak, you got to ask yourself, like, where are some places where you'd have some resistance to play off of? So you've got the 200 if we carry into that top again and fail it, or simply where we consolidated from at the end of the day on Wednesday, which is right in here at this 198 level. So you want to have some plays where you can be looking for, hey, I'm not automatically going short Amazon, but if we're trending to the downside, Amazon loses support, I know this has the weight of a failed breakout going with it, so that I'm not just, you know, sort of jumping into some stock I haven't looked at before. Like I know Amazon failed 200. I know it's in the midst of a pullback. I'm not going to just jump short at 9:30 when the market opens. But if we're losing support in the NASDAQ and we go red, this has some serious room to take. If it takes another step down from here, 96 to 93 is a good turn for Amazon. $3 on Amazon is actually pretty big. It's not Tesla. It doesn't normally move like that. So I think you've got some range here for stocks that might have just failed. If maybe it's 52-week high, maybe it's an all-time high. Amazon gives you an example of that.
Yeah, I think something I also want to mention with some of these chips running is ARM. We know what ARM has been doing since the IPO, and it feels like it was just yesterday. But I'm looking back at this chart, I'm like, all right, well, 2023 September was when it kind of IPO'd. Have a bunch of my support resistances marked, but I've been kind of slacking on the work here after this strong earnings that we had in February of this year. I haven't really been putting some of that work in, but I got the anchor. It's going on. But something to note is that this prior high, we're kind of chopping and churning in and around this, and with NVIDIA and some of the other chip names kind of moving the way that they are, I'm definitely going to be watching this ARM for a potential push of that all-time highs there. So we'll see. Got it on watch, but NVIDIA definitely a little bit more in focus today. What's going on, Adara?
Let's talk here about some of these upgrades and downgrades. Bit of a lighter day given that it's a holiday week Friday, but a few interesting names to talk about here. We have Lloyds Bank getting this upgrade from Exane BNP Paribas, up about 4% right now. Fubo TV getting an upgrade from Nita, and this is a definitely interesting one. And we also have Eagle Bank getting an upgrade from Hovd Group. The downgrade side here, as things get quite fascinating. We have Raymond James downgrading two airlines here, both Spirit and Frontier, both of these trading a little bit lower. But last but not least, we have NVDA. This just came out around 850, getting this downgrade to neutral from New Street Research. So definitely keep an eye on NVDA with this downgrade in mind here, guys.
So
I think they're not the same.
Yeah, so remember if you're looking at SPR versus SAVE, SPR has that potential deal with Boeing going for it. But what's interesting there is, really, Fubo got an upgrade? Good for them. Good for you, Fubo TV, in your gorgeous-looking chart. I mean, who doesn't want to... okay, whatever. I'm not even going to try and make that sound good. No, Fubo, you look at that catalyst, it's like, oh, it's still not really doing anything. I would love for this to maybe join, like, the squeeze party. But like it's starting. If you saw volume in this, 30,000 volume. Yeah, it's just not doing any volume. It's made a bottom off $1, which gets like halfway interesting. It's back above the 50. But I mean, come on. Like if you can't even break that out, that's getting awfully boring. You know, one of those names on the downgrade list, obviously we're paying attention to already, which is going to be NVIDIA. That should just go without saying that NVIDIA is going to be a trade today. It is now down 0.8% into a market that is flat. So NVIDIA looking relatively weak. As Obi just mentioned ARM, I just remembered, hey, if we lose support on the chips today, ARM is the only one we have to pay for locates on. So the days that ARM looks good for a trade, we have to remember here at Real Trading, it's cheap. It'll probably be like 1/8 of a cent per share to trade. But if we lose support, I'm talking 126 on NVIDIA, gap fill much? We'll call it the Pelosi gap. Okay, no, maybe we shouldn't call it that. We'll call it, oh, good. Yeah, we shouldn't call it, whatever. If we lose this 127 level, there's a pretty decent sized gap to where we ran on Wednesday. That said, 124, 125 was pretty big. So I would suspect you could catch a bid there on NVIDIA. So looking at this one, it's a pretty clean zone where we had on Friday, Wednesday, 126 into 129. And if we were to break it out, I think you got 130 up there for a bit of resistance. We do not want to forget, and we'll talk about this with the chips, AMD, but thank you to Obi, because we're just talking about Amazon failing a high. If ARM is failing this high, double top at 170, we have to pay for the privilege of going short on ARM. Lower high in the daily, 170. I know I've usually been lamenting the fact that I sold half of this position and never got more. But yeah, if we're failing breakouts for reversal shorts, ARM has to be near a top of a list. But it's up 1% today, and you saw NVIDIA down.
Yeah, again, interesting stuff with the NVIDIA downgrade. I don't know how much that's really going to affect today's action there. But after what we had on Wednesday, right? After the craziness we had on Wednesday. So just looking back at it, if we do pull back, some of these levels are already coming back in. After hours lows, and also end of day kind of this like wick low down here at that 126. I'll be watching for some of that. Again, same question I keep asking on whenever these tickers run with aggression is, if the bid is real, where will it catch? Maybe some places where it's caught before, and a little bit of a slight pullback here. Let's go down a frame right there. So right there, 126. That end of day little pop. Going into the imbalances, right? Is that exactly at 50? No, 45. So, okay, so going into that 50 imbalance area. And again, once again, a little bit of a consolidation dip here, 124.50s as well. Does that confluence with some of these prior levels? Yes, it does. Monday highs as well. So if we do take a little bit of a pullback, I'll be watching some of those levels. If we continue, pre-market highs are right there at 129.20s. And some of these previous prior highs just underneath, just shy of this 130 as well. So that's kind of where we broke trend earlier. This is the trend I'm talking about here. Going into the split as well, we broke that, and we've been kind of consolidating sideways on this prior anchored VWAP from earnings. So anchored has been holding quite well here. Seems like the longs are definitely strong on this name for sure, and we saw some of that happening on Wednesday.
All right, guys, make sure to get that watch list sent in your inbox every morning. Darren always prepares that. No morning routine is complete without a proper watch list, so make sure to get that signed up, again, in your inbox every morning. And helps you organize your day. I know that I use it personally. So let's get a look here at the futures. As I prefaced at the top of the show, we did print all-time highs on the ES September contract. We broke through that 5,600 level ever so briefly. 5,605 is the high, but we're still having trouble taking that 5,600 on a closing basis. Until we do that, 5,600 is resistance to the downside. As support, we'll use these two troughs from the 20th, and again, resistance on the 2nd. We'll use 55.75 as support. Let's get to the rundown though, guys. First topic on the day, Bitcoin. A lot of weakness overnight on the 4th of July with Bitcoin. To be expected, we did have that Mt. Gox, issue where they were basically, the defunct cryptocurrency exchange was liquidating some cryptocurrency from the cold walleted there, and that had the market worried about overstimulating that particular area.
And it's interesting, too, this research from CoinGecko, this data shows that apparently more than $170 billion has been wiped from the entire crypto market cap over the last 24 hours. So $170 billion across all these cryptocurrencies. We saw Ethereum getting hit here as well. So pretty bad look across the board. A lot of this stemming from this Mt. Gox related payout, but yeah, this entire market taking almost a $200 billion hit.
Yeah, 5.85% to the downside right now, guys. Looked like there was, guys, some support at 54,000. I don't know how you see it.
100% there was 54,000 support. I think when you go if you go far enough back, I should say, you can really see, if you go to a daily chart, it's going to show you why some people might have been waiting for that 54. Like you had 56 under here, but when we talk about support and resistance, oftentimes you look to where things get breakouts from. You break out through resistance, and then that level becomes like in theoretical support until it bounces. Well, we just got the first test of it. And I think people were waiting for that gap to get filled in, and now we're potentially bouncing off that area here on Bitcoin. So we'll see what happens. That said, there's only two symbols that I will be watching today in the crypto space. One of them is Coinbase. It could flat bottom break in here. I'll be more interested in the little gap that it just put in from Wednesday's low. So you have this close to end last week, which is about 221. And then you had on Wednesday a double bottom at that price. So I think, shorts into 221 if it makes a bounce. And obviously 208. You can see that support. It's not the only ledge. It's not like it's the end of the world for Coinbase if it breaks at 208, because 200 and the 197, 198 area has been really, really good support for the stock. So I think you can definitely look for some fade down in 221. Great question here from Lava. You can trade crypto directly now, though. Yeah, real trading we can. So 100%, I could be looking at IBIT. It's not just the ETFs. We actually have BTC, and I could be trading BTC. Just when you're trading BTC here at Real Trading, you can only go long. So if I was going to trade directly, I would use IBIT just because you can go long and short. Obviously, the prices are going to be a little bit different, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. I just like the price action and the movement on Coinbase and Mara at times. But you could look at that same gap fill and be like, oh, okay, I want to fade into 33. I'd rather use these as reference for the trades in the equities. That's generally speaking how I would look. And as for Mara, it's about the same idea as Coin, with the prices obviously being different. If it tries to break up, the full gap fill will be like 2080 or so. But I do like this $20 level for a pop and fade here in Mara. Might hold at 19. As you can see, the last time it was at 19, you had a great consolidation there. And you've had several lit grabs underneath the 19 level. So I'd rather be short into 20 and into the 19 area as opposed to trying to take a breakdown at 19 even. I am favoring the short side here, but I'll keep my eyes on IBIT and Bitcoin. If they're rallying, you don't have to sit in front of a moving freight train like that at all. So down 7%, no worries of SSR here on Mara until it gets down a little bit further. It would have to get to like 8 underneath the 19 level, 1880 or so. Then it's SSR. But I'll be looking to go short here. First, pop and fade 20. If it tries to fill in the gap, I'd short it back into Wednesday's close.
Yeah, some fearful selling going on Bitcoin there, but just got to remember the kind of moves that Bitcoin usually has when it does pull back. It's well within range of the volatility and the magnitude of moves that it does have off of whenever it breaks down these prior highs. Don't forget the volatility that crypto can definitely have in the past. So 40 to 50% pullbacks. Crypto will eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on a higher time frame. You can see that literally the next consolidation range on the way up is about 50% off of those highs there that we've made at 73, 74s, and it's done this multiple times over and over again. So it's like, all right, I think I was talking to Fabian about this a little bit, I guess, a little bit earlier, maybe past couple of months there. We were like, yeah, if this kind of breaks down, this can definitely come into some of these levels here. 50 to 40s is this prior consolidation low. We've got pretty much nothing but air in between that. 50,000 is going to be interesting as well. But yeah, if Bitcoin's poised for a little bit of a pullback here, I think that just looking back at it, where are some of these prior support and resistance levels are good questions to ask. I have 49, 1 as a little bit of a level here. But yeah, Mara, Riot, MSTR, all going to be on watch based off of some of the price action happening on crypto there. So we know that Mara has been doing some interesting things over the past few weeks. They're a bit of a channel, consolidation channel in between about 20 to 22, I think it was. Yeah, post earnings, prior earnings as well. So going to be watching some of the low of this range. If that can come in, we're already gapping down in the pre-market as well. And then MSTR as well. I got to watch this one. MicroStrategy. Let's go up to a weekly on this one just to give us a little bit of a look here. So yeah, very, very similar kind of chart happening here. We're breaking some of these consolidation lows. Where can we go if we kind of really do crack 1,000? Just above that is this wick low of these tops that we've had. But again, take a look at this little double top action happening right underneath that 18 coincides a little bit with that double top action that we've been having on BTC as well. BTC already breaking below its kind of wick low there, but it's got some room, it's got some levels. Let's see where it goes to. Again, this thing can bid right back up or flush back down very aggressively. So I'll just be waiting and watching to see what the chart and price action are saying, so that we can have some potential executable opportunities on some of these equities alongside with the Bitcoin move there. But yeah, fearful selling, it would seem.
Tesla rocketing up 17% in 2 days on the back of better Q2 results. Still down 4.5% year over year, but a lot better than expectations. That caused short sellers to lose about $3.5 billion a day in a couple of days, which also helped Elon Musk gain about $15 billion in net worth. He tweeted, of course he did, or X'd on the weekend, saying once Tesla fully solves autonomy and has Optimus in volume production, anyone still holding a short position will be obliterated. Even Gates, mentioning him by name, or Darryl.
And it's interesting, too. We actually started this week. There was a positive note from Wedbush on Monday. There's also a pretty negative note there coming from Wells Fargo, putting it at the top of its tactical ideas list as a short. So that was pretty interesting. Tesla did not care. Of course, the stock is looking for a 4-day rally here. Apparently, though, current short float still stands about 3.5% of Tesla's total float. That's going to be about 97 million shares. Shorted with a $22.4 billion notional value. TSLA trying to pop up again here, up about 2%, popping back above VWAP. So we'll have to see if this one can continue its winning streak.
What's the look, guys?
Yeah, when you break out of a channel like this is where shorts get scared, right? Like, it's been since about mid last year. You've had a very clean post-split trend, and you could actually go back further pre-split, but it's just easier to look at it from the post-split. Clear lower highs, clear lower lows. Well, guess what? That's done with, and we've broken out of this channel, and we're continuing to go. I don't know that I see like an obvious level of resistance till you get to that last peak, which is 263 or 64, 65, something like that. So you're talking mid-60s here for a resistance level on Tesla. That doesn't mean on the day trade it can't fail. Obviously, you could have multiple day pullbacks and still be absolutely fine on the trend. Like, this could pull back into 230 and it would still be holding above that trend line. So there's a big time gap that it could fill, but when you see consolidation like this, higher lows, good volume, consolidation over 248, if it ain't under that, if it isn't under that, then I can't be looking for anything other than the dip buy. If we lose the close and go red from Wednesday, that could be a different story because you've got a pretty wild gap to fill. You got another $5 down into 240, maybe $6 down in there. So you got to be careful. But when I see consolidation up there, the first look is, hey, can we go dip and rip again? Right? Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For most people, I'm going to wager, if you're a day trader, that Tesla's been your best stock long for 2 days in a row. And if it does dip and rip here into that 48 area and Wednesday's close, then I'd rather be looking for that first. If I think about an EV name to go short in, I would much rather take a pot shot at something which just failed a break, like Rivian. And this is a theme, like what just failed to break? Failed to break that 15.15, consolidated lower. This looks exactly like that Amazon, only it wasn't an all-time high. So if we are going downside, I'd much rather look for the shorts at failing 15 again, or just flat bottom breaking this thing at 14.50. So there's still an upward trend in Tesla. There's plenty of other places to go if you want that short trade, and if you want a short trade. And I understand Rivian's got a bigger short float than Tesla, but sometimes it's more about the notional and the trend than anything else. So I'll be looking over here at Tesla for the dip buy at the open. Oh, I should mention Polestar dollar is still in play. Basically the last couple of days is really easy to see here. Polestar 97.98, 97.98, 97.98. It's just like the same short over and over again. At some point, it might break the dollar, but it's still right in the pocket. It paid for the locates again. If we pop into 98 cents, I'll look for the short in front of $1. Once we see the curl, just kind of get into the short, usually 95, 96, and play it back in. If it breaks a dollar, would still be willing to reverse that into a breakout. Not a lot of volume here on Polestar, but I've been watching it every single day, so I should mention it.
Yeah, I'm definitely have a couple things to say about Tesla. There, we keep talking about. So this is a trend that I've been watching, right? So over the past week, we've been breaking out of this multi-year trend that I keep mentioning. And now again, I'm sure a lot of people have this line on their chart. A lot of people that I speak to and I again talk with have this very distinct trend resistance on their Tesla chart, and we have been breaking out of it quite distinctly for the first time in about over 3 years here. November 2021 is the all-time high that was printed here at 414.50 on Tesla there. Now, of course, split adjusted, of course, but this chart is split adjusted. But yeah, you can see that we are pushing the core of this kind of longer-term flag that's been happening. If you've been watching some of the tape on Tesla, it definitely has hints of squeeze-like characteristics there as well. So that's something definitely to note. Like I said earlier today, this will be day 4 of the run-up we've been having since the beginning of the week here. So Monday, very strong, closing near a high a day. Tuesday, very strong, even stronger than prior day, closing near high a day. And then Wednesday as well, similar story here, very strong off the open, goes sideways for mid to end of day there, but still closing near high a day. So let's see if we get more of the same for a 4th day in a row here on Tesla. I have some of these levels marked from prior day. So if we do take a little bit of a breather, again, I'm going to ask the same question. If I see some pre-market strength, this is some overall strength. If the bid is real, where will it catch? Where has it caught in the past? This level right here, this 240 looks interesting. Prior day consolidation lows here, end of day right here, 243, and some change might be interesting. Pre-market lows confluencing with prior day highs at that 248 and some change as well. So we're going to be watching some of those levels. Pre-market highs at 253.68. Let's take a quick look even further left on the hourly to see what we did in the past when we were here at this 250 mark. So right here, you can see this very strong consolidation that we had in January, where we sold off of, and look at that. Prior day on that in December, consolidation highs right at the 251s, 252s. And then the next day, the first day of the year. So technically, Tesla is teetering on a 12-month chart. It is about to go red to green at this level. So let's go to the 12-month chart here on Tesla. If it can show it to us right here. Okay, so boom, right there. So this is what Tesla is looking like on the 12-month chart, on the yearly chart. So that is something to note. When a bar goes red to green on any time frame, I definitely want to watch out for that. And the high of this 12-month bar is at 251.25, and we're already knocking on the door of some of those prices here today in the pre-market. So it's going to be interesting what Tesla does in and around here. And yeah, we're breaking some of those prices right now. 251.57 trading in the pre-market. So this candle will update as soon as we start to open here on the day. And let's see what Tesla yearly candle red to green has in store for us today for the last day of trading on a shortened week. Should be interesting.
Koss,
Guys, up nicely again in the pre-market here, but 34.75%. This one moved 144% last trading day, well higher than that 1063 close. As you can see there on the chart, got to about 18 3/4. A lot of speculation as to why this was running. This is really what it comes down to over here. This picture with a microphone, I guess prefacing or trying to hint that it's Koss that he was looking at. The American flag is supposed to be indicative of the 4th of July, Adair, and the eyes.
Well, I think that's kind of a I think the post in question, I think it looks like they took a couple different posts. They got the Chewy dog in there as well. Yeah. But if we're just talking about the microphone and the flag, what's interesting is that this was posted back in May. On Wednesday, so July 3rd, on Reddit, I guess someone unearthed this post from May and then said, given, the fact that Koss manufactures headphones, the fact that we're near the 4th of July, he could potentially be getting purchased. So again, this is basically, they used the same powers of deduction that got us the Chewy move, which ended up being correct, to try to figure out what he's targeting next. So this is total speculation. The market reacting positively, though, up a cool 36% right now.
Yeah, and we hadn't heard anything from him quite yet, right?
Nothing from him. There's just this May post being unearthed.
All right, guys, what's the look?
It's a weird catalyst, but this is where we're at. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But we look, we'll go over this one more time. Koss is at $14. And what you'd like to see, obviously, if you're pretty bullish on the stock, is a sustained breakout. It's got to hold above those previous levels. Like 13 was a pretty big level on a dip. I think that would be the interesting spot where it could hold out. And then you go to this consolidation high. It's kind of hard to see, but you got like $18.50, $19. If it doesn't get through that price, then you have an inside day and a potential pop and fade. If we do, it's got room to like $23, $24 on Koss. And that's when you look at a weekly chart. So you saw that high get put in on Wednesday. So a lot of strength. It got put in on Wednesday, huge flush back through. It was a halt fest. And then now we got the higher low at 16, so the lower high at $16. If we never break this to get into that range to test the high of the day, then you're probably looking at an opportunity to short the range. But if that doesn't happen, I'm ready. $10 was one low, $13 was the aftermarket top. I think those are the two places to look for some kind of accumulation. And if you can find the accumulation like on Friday, I keep saying Friday, like on Wednesday, early on, there was accumulation at $5 and $6, and then it ran. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 13. But if I see it accumulating either of those prices, I want to be a joiner today on Koss. If we're just popping and fading at 9:30, then we have to look for a different style of trade on this name. But I want to give it a chance to squeeze. It's not the greatest reason for a squeeze, but who cares? If it's going to go, it's going to go. And I want to make sure we join it if it does.
Yeah, I definitely going to be on watch for sure. Again, regardless of why it's moving, we know that we keep saying this over and over again. The following that Roaring Kitty has, it definitely can move the stocks. But if we just look at the chart and the volume, strong volume coming in, breaking through prior resistance levels here on Koss. We looked at that 23, 24 area, looking left as well. That prior high before we started to really come down off of the 21 craziness of the meme stonks there, and we are kind of revisiting some of those levels, or attempting to, on Koss Corp here. So let's see if it kind of continues there. We're going to be looking at the chart, volume coming in. Let's see. It is a halter. It is a squeezer, so that you do have to be wary for that. And I think I was asking Neil earlier today, was the borrows were like 20 something pennies on
they were
on
under
Wednesday.
It was under 30
like
cents.
Under 30.
I forget exactly what it was.
Today they've doubled.
Yeah, they've gone more.
They've gone more than double for the borrows. So interesting stuff. I do like to kind of keep that on watch. What is the supply and demand of the borrows there, just based off of the price? Again, not just like the float. There's almost always a little bit of an interesting inventory for the short. For the shortable shares, I guess, if you want to call them that, shares you can potentially borrow there. But we're coming into that 15 pre-market highs at that 16, just above that $16 mark there. So I'll have it on watch. Not my main, but if it gives me something I'm interested in, if it shows me something that's I guess out of my playbook, I will definitely get involved. I do have to get some borrows on this one right now, so I will get on that with only about 7 minutes left till the bell.
It's hard.
All right, guys. Chinese EVs next on the docket, and this one a bit of a tougher look for them because the EU is following through with their tariffs. We heard of the Americans wanting to put tariffs of up to 100%. The Europeans not taking that aggressive of a stance is going to range from 17.5% to 37.5% as a result of what they allege to be unfair subsidies by the Chinese government. The provisional tariffs will last for a period of 4 months, and then they'll be looked at again in November of 2024. As you can see, expect gapping down here. They're breaking down below 8. What else can you tell us about this?
Yeah, there's also some specific news for NIO, N-I-O. The new CFO here was actually their former senior vice president. His name is Stanley Yu Chu. He is now taking over as CFO. Former CFO Stephen Weifeng actually stepping down here for apparently family-related reasons. So new CFO for NIO. Also interesting, XPeng actually speaking out about the tariffs, saying that they're going to keep prices the same for now. They're not going to increase until they have to with regard to respect customers who already have orders going on. So XPeng, the only one that I've seen of the three who's spoken on it right now. But yeah, XPeng down about 6%, rough look. NIO new CFO as well.
What's the look, guys?
So look, NIO had a great day on Wednesday, and I think some of the EV names from China did do particularly well, but NIO stood out for this breakout. 465, but it failed $5, as you can see. Aftermarket consolidation. I don't know how much I want to care that it ended up consolidating there, but that's just the close price, so it's not going to move. So obviously it's going to be right at that close for the entirety of the aftermarket session and not do anything. I think it's probably pop and fade into 487. That's exactly where we close. Any move into 5, I think, should be faded. Since the last pump, you can see what's kind of happening here. I thought I drew this line in there. You can see what kind of happened. Like, it made a couple of lower highs, made the attempted break on Friday, and then now you're still trying to break out this this distinct trend to the downside. If we can get back above that 488 level and retest the highs, suddenly you have a chance to consolidate above the previous trend line, but it's under. And if it's under, my first shot would be looking at that short trade. Adrian in the chat saying, look at PDD and Li Auto consolidation. So PDD, it's not a Chinese EV name, but it is making a bit of a challenge around this like 136 level resistance, support, resistance, breakout. Now you're just sort of holding. It's kind of an over-under for me with PDD at this price. No catalyst today, but if when I'm looking at this, it's like when it's over 136, look for longs. You saw that work on Wednesday. And when it's under, look for shorts. And that's been the way to go over here on PDD. I just feel like NIO is going to be the one that we look at. Oh my goodness, AMD absolutely flying here. Let me just quickly get the imbalances up here. See if there's anything specifically on AMD. Nope. ASTI is a penny stock. Archer, but Archer Aviation, 900,000 buy imbalance. I know a lot of people are looking at Archer Aviation. That looks spicy. I don't see anything on AMD. Tesla's a sell of 300,000 early. Apple's a sell of 200,000 early. NVIDIA, 160 buy. But you've got AMD flying now into that big resistance level. This has a channel potential breakout here. It's not the Tesla channel, but it has been lower highs, lower lows the entire way on AMD, and maybe today's the day. Is AMD going to break that 167 today? Look, this goes without saying. There have only been 3 levels on AMD that have been gold standard the last couple of weeks. 167 resistance, 163 either direction, and 153, 154, like down here. Well, we're not trading at that one. We're now ways away from the 163 level, which was great support. So it looks like we're going to challenge that 167 off the open here on AMD. That's a big one. Every time it's gotten to 167, it's been a short. So if you don't take it, you're kind of bucking that trend. But let's see what happens. I thought we'd get a 163 flat bottom break maybe today on AMD, but we're going the other way into this 167 level all of a sudden. Wow.
Yeah. We're talking about Chinese EVs.
Yeah, well, we only have 90 seconds to go.
Yeah, we got 90 seconds.
Let's go back to the desk because we'll probably want to get to Amazon here.
All right, the last one here. Amazon raising the ire of the European Commission. They're looking for more compliance with the Digital Service Act specifically. They're seeking details on how Amazon ensures transparency in its recommender systems, Adair.
This is, of course, not the first big tech name getting targeted by the EU, as we mentioned earlier today. Meta earlier this week on Monday. We had Microsoft last week, Apple as well. So a lot of these Mag 7 companies raising, I guess, the hackles of the EU and their DMA team. Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye on big tech today, guys.
That 200 mark, we can see that how many times it's attempted that 200 over the past week or so there. So it is kind of winding up, making higher highs, higher lows overall. Sure, Wednesday was a bit of a failure to follow through of that 200, but we sustained a higher low. Look at that prior day consolidation right on top of that 196. So yeah, that's well within range to kind of push that 200 mark, I think. Let's see whether or not it comes in today or we take another pullback, and if that was really actually a failure to follow through the 200. I have no idea, but I'll continue watching some of this price action here today on Amazon. Definitely one of the names I will be watching. If we do make a distinctly different push off of these highs there, 200 could definitely bring us something.
Heyo.
Here we go.
Here we go to end the week in 3, 2, and 1. Ring it. Get a little bit of chicken. And Amazon were making rallies very, very early off the jump. AMD's going to test that 167, I feel like, right away. We'll see what happens when we get there. You're getting a test on Tesla 250, just got underneath, over under on the 250 level, but AMD and that 167, all of a sudden the first place we got to look.
Yeah, so I'm watching that 250, 251's coming in right now. I'm going to stay a little bit more patient on this one. There goes ARM as well. We were looking at ARM. ARM is pushing through its pre-market highs there. 251.50s, this is what I'm talking about. This was the area we were talking about how if we're past this, we're going red to green on the yearly on Tesla, as this is literally the first trading day had a strong consolidation at that 251, I think 30s or 40s, something like that, 251 halves we can call it, in that area. And we're pushing some of these pre-market levels. 252 incoming right now. 253.68 is the pre-market high on Tesla. So I'm just curious. I'm going to wait a little bit here to see what we do with this 250 mark. It is a little bit of an interesting price for me. I was waiting for it on Wednesday. It doesn't really come in on Wednesday. And like I said, we've had 3 days of pretty euphoric strength here on Tesla. 199's coming in on Amazon, so Amazon's quite strong as well. Let's see some of these other large caps. Are they moving around with any sort of significance? SPY is still holding within its opening range right now, but opening range, it's only been a minute, almost 2 minutes there.
It's still early.
So it's still pretty early. We are trading below that 250 now, so a little bit of a pullback here. So the first thing my eyes will go to is prior day highs right there. We are testing prior day highs right now, 248 and some change, 300 lots right there on that 248, and we rip right back up off of that 248 and some change, and we're coming right back in. So Tesla, very, very volatile right off the open. There comes 175 on ARM. Oh boy, is that going to push its all-time highs there as well? What were those all-time highs again? Let's take a quick look. 177.30s. We are right there, accelerating to the upside.
ARM is ripping faces off right now, and Mara is going to take that $20 level. So here comes 20 on Mara. I do have Tesla 248 just came in nicely, and we just rejected 250. So I probably should have covered. Wow, the market is screaming. Tesla bounced that 48 that we liked and right into 250, and a huge rejection at 250. So we got to respect the fact that that just happened. I don't want to get caught if 248 breaks. We like the 246 level underneath it. So I'll be willing to get out of this one. I do not like what I just saw there. That was a quick buck, and then the 2, and then right back underneath 248. So do not want to fight it. The other thing that's happening right now is, of course, Mara at the $20 level. I almost said 30, but Mara at that $20 level wicked it. I was in at 90s, and then it wicked the 20, so giving it to the local high at 20.05, and we're short here at 1992. Should be a great 200-meter time if I was able to run it, but obviously that's not going to be the case. And you can look for the curl. You can want there to be a curl, but if there isn't one, you don't have to stand in front of a moving freight train. You can see absolutely nothing happened on AMD at 167 except for it just tearing right through. So as far as I'm concerned, this sucker is just on breakout. And that 167 level, that turns into a potential support. So if AMD comes right back in, it's almost like more like 166.5. We can retest that and bounce. This looks like more of a long than anything else to me. Oh my goodness, NVIDIA just failed. NVIDIA was breaking out 2 seconds ago. Now we're right back underneath. But Mars is the only thing I'm in. Good thing we got out of the way at Tesla.
Holy.
This is why you have stops, people. Remember I said that doesn't look good? We got 248 into 249. Could have taken 250s, wasn't fast enough. And look how quickly it reverses. That's why you don't fight a stock.
Yeah, so I'm kind of patiently waiting. I did have a bit of a long bias on Tesla, and looking at this price action, I'm like, yeah, this is not where I want to really be long in this kind of price action here. But something that is super strong is Apple. Apple pushing those 222s as of right now. High a day, 222.64. Google, Koss halts.
Missed
What's
it.
going on? Is it halted already? Okay,
Koss just halted. Sorry, not to interrupt, but apologies, guys. Koss just halted on the breakout of $16. It halts at $16.15. An instant tap was 18. Now it's saying 17.5. So you could make that run at that. It's like $18.70 or something, but $19 high. So breakout. I would have loved to have gotten that one on the halt, but you got to be really fast. But locked and loaded, we thought we'd get more of a dip. There in Koss, it goes right to that first 13 level, and off to the races is KOSS. If you're in it, you got to love it. Oh, one more for you while we're watching, and shout out to some of the boys in the on the floor. Reddit has a big top that it could take.
Okay.
Yeah. Flat top potential break on Reddit. It's kind of chilling out at that high, man. That smells good, Sharif. But there is your top on Reddit, $75. Could be a crowded trade, but who cares if it's really going to go?
Wow, those again, that egg salad Sharif always brings in the morning, smelling excellent to start off the day there. So yeah, I'm sure 100% that's been used multiple times before, but
that's not original.
Of course, it's not original. There's literally there's a breakfast place called Egg Static, which is pretty. They're okay, but anyways. 245. Yeah, I'm watching Tesla like a hawk right here, Neil, and 245 holding as of right now. So it seems like some of those prior day highs didn't really come in. Again, great reasons to sell that we failed to follow through at that 250, right? And I'm like, yeah, I definitely don't want to be buying here. I was, I guess, not really too well planned for the short there. But, it is what it is. Let's see how far we do pull back. This is the first time in 3 or 4 days that we're pulling back significantly right off of the open there. So this question, again, same question I'm going to be asking. If the bid is real, if this multi-day bid is real, where can it potentially catch? I'm looking at some of those prior day levels as well. That 240 was quite nice. We're only about 4 points away from that. Tesla will eat that for breakfast. What's going on, Adara?
Keep an eye on Macy's here. This went up almost 10% right now. Not a ton of volume on this, but seeing a couple volume spikes. Wall Street Journal reporting that Arkhouse and Brigade, which have been interested in Macy going back to December 2023, have now raised their offer for the company from $24 a share to $24.80 a share, about a 38% upside from its closing price on Wednesday. So interesting look for M, guys.
Macy's for a run, but guess what else is running? You've got Amazon at 200 again. It got there on Wednesday with a big failure, but if it gets through the 50s, I think that's another local breakout here for Amazon. Just needs to get through 2050. But we said if it failed that level, we would at least look for a short. Not Macy's, but Mara is continuing to pull back in. We got the short 1992, and then we added some, got some 94s. We're able to just get filled in the mid-70s. If we keep bouncing at 19.5, you're going to have to respect the move, as you are getting a bit of a breakout in the overall market and a lot of strength. So if we can't get past 19.5, going to take that out and just accept the $0.50. But Amazon joining the party. You got to get away from Tesla. Tesla is absolutely tanking. And the next level, I don't say 240, 241, right? Like you just got to be patient waiting for it. The market is strong. I see ostentatious productions mentioning Palantir. I'm just waiting for Koss to open up here. Koss should be open in maybe like a minute and a half or so. But Palantir flying with the rest of the market, this could be a potential break. But you got to keep it tied to the vest. We know the stocks we want to watch today. If we're going to be weak on Tesla, then I go over to the other name, which we kind of thought could be a strong one, and breaking out is NVIDIA. So AMD's kind of gone. I just tried to get a VWAP bid. I'll show you that I'm not going to get that anytime soon. But you've still got dip by 126 and a potential breakout here up top on NVDA.
Yeah, a bit of an aggressive bid coming in back through that 245 here on Tesla, but yeah, let's see if it's actually catching right now. So, like I said, distinctly different behavior right off of the open. The past couple of days, I saw things that got me long within the first couple of minutes here, and I'm not seeing anything of the same as of right now. There, bit of a bottom wick happening at 243.42. We're trading about 3 points higher, 246.30. So nice little 3-point bounce. Let's see what we do in and around this VWAP. VWAP I have here at 249, so another 3 points to go for VWAP on Tesla. But let's see how strong this selling really is. If the selling is really aggressive, I don't know if we're going to get all the way back up to there, but we are trading below some of these pre-market levels and also below prior day's highs at 248. What's going on with Koss? Are we open
Koss
yet?
is open, and wow, it is absolutely flying. I'm going to have to do this because I just got into AMD. Let me just show you guys the black chart here. We'll pull it down so you guys can see it. But I just got the dip buy in AMD here, 167.5. But you opened 17, got to 1780. You're still holding that halt double top at about 1620. I think as long as that is the case, that 19 break is going to come into play. Remember, that 19 is the key. It's not a line in the sand or anything, but it's that big resistance level. If we break out through that, any kind of level is possible for a squeeze, and the next stop is $23 on KOSS. So dip buy in AMD that's absolutely flying. 167.5 would be the, we just got the 3/4, took the 50-cent scalp. We'll see where it can go. But Koss is your big time flyer. Market strong, Koss even stronger. 73%. 73%, because Roaring Kitty posted a picture a month ago. Logic, baby. Logic, there is none.
Yeah, not a lot of things, I guess, make sense, nor do they really have to, right? I mean,
Everything's making dollars.
At the end of the day, you know what I love the most about the market? Like, you don't need anything other than the tape in the book. Sure, the chart is nice as well, but like if it has news, you'll probably see it coming in on the tape. You might not know what the news is. You'll be like, but oh boy, there's something going on with this ticker for sure, is something that you will be thinking. So yeah, we're trading right back down into 243. So like I said, very predatory action there. If you got long off of the day low, 243.40s, it's coming right back into some of those levels there, potentially looking for a continuation to the downside here. Aggressive pullback here. What was that opening range high on Tesla as of right now? 252.35, and we're trading almost 10 points lower. Oh boy, what a short. And here we go, some fresh lows on the day here. So we're coming into some of these levels from prior day. 242.70s is where that bid caught going into the close, and we got that little bit of a squeezy action once again. 242.70s, and we're coming right back into some of those levels here. Let's see what we do in and around some of those prior levels. But again, 240 was an interesting price as well, so I might be a little patient for that. 200 teetering on Amazon. What's going on, Adara?
Great. Look for Palantir here right off the open. Only green candle so far on the 5-minute chart for PLTR. Not seeing any big news on this, though. The company had just had an agreement here with Surf Air Mobility coming out this morning. Palantir receiving 4.9 million shares of Surf Air Mobility in exchange for $2 million worth of in-kind services. So a bit of a deal here with Surf Air Mobility for PLTR, up 3%, guys.
The market is super strong. So first things first. You're now trading still at the 17 level. That Koss move really wicked the bottom heavy, like big time wick of the bottom. But watch Amazon at this 200. I thought you were going to get pullback into VWAP in here, but it just bounced and reclaimed the $200 level. So if it's going to be this strong, we got to look for a potential long over that. Mara is right back into that 20 level, or at least the 1990. So the trend down still looking pretty solid. I'll look for a reload at 20, but at this point, doesn't seem like we're going to get it. AMD just lost 167. Oh, I just dip bought, and then we lose the 167 level. We'll see what happens. But AMD now reversing that move. We get out of dodge pretty quickly on that, as it doesn't even hold 167 very well. Want to make sure we keep something in the pocket. But if the chips are turning, and that was a high, you probably know ARM is the place that I want to jump. Wow, maybe it's too late on ARM. ARM we paid for locates that if it trended down off this market strength, we'd look for a short. but ARM already well underneath VWAP. Do not want to chase it. That's a heck of a rejection candle. Look at that rejection of a breakout on ARM. Gonna have to look for a VWAP retrace here. 175 would be resistance, but we're at 72s. Can't chase it too far. Only got one short in here. We'll have to find one more.
Yeah, some of these tickers I'm looking at, the market is hella strong off of the open. Softy pushing for fresh highs. Apple 223s. Alphabet 188. So that's pushing fresh highs as well as of right now. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon fresh highs on the day 200 holding as of right now. But take a look at the market here. We kind of rejected this initial candle that we had off of the 830 numbers there, and we are pulling right back off of it. On the NQ here. What's up, Adara?
MetaWound pushing higher here. Pretty strong volume since the open for MDWD. This one is a small cap around a $134 million market cap. Currently trading around $22, but traders are circulating, again, this is speculation, not proven yet, that this company, Solventum, is interested in buying MetaWound for $34 a share, so that would be an upside from the current trading price. MDWD, about almost 7 million shares, guys.
Halts to the downside on Koss. This is exactly the trade that was missed on Friday, where it failed this level, broke under the halt price, halted down, and I didn't get filled. This time we got a little something here at 1571. It's indicating a 14 open, so I'll probably take some out on the reopen and then just see what happens there on Koss. As mentioned, with the weakness that you just saw in the chips, there's ARM, there's VWAP. I'll back off, and we'll have to try to short the pop in here as best we can. AMD is now failing underneath that previous top at 167, so I'm not really thinking longs in this thing when it's retracing the way that it is. Thank goodness we got away from Tesla. Tesla right down into 243. I still think maybe wait for 240 bucks. That makes a heck of a lot of sense to me. And Rivian. This was another one. Remember we were saying flat bottom break on Rivian?
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oops.
The short's coming in because of this Tesla.
Sympathy short. Sympathy. And the other, I mean, I chuckle when I point at this, because guess what's actually going up and trying to break out? Logically, when the market pulls back, Polestar wants to make this run at $1 again. So we'll try to do the same thing that we did on Friday, Wednesday, and then Tuesday. And it did the same thing, whatever. Every single day, this gets to 97 or 98 cents and then pulls back. So if it gets there again, we'll try the same price action.
Yeah, I'm just patiently waiting. I've had, wow, look at the NQ and the ES retrace. We talked about a little bit of a rejection off that 20,500, and we are slamming right back down into the low 400s right here. Absolutely crazy. So let's see, all these tickers that had a bit of strength, who's pulling back the most? I guess NVIDIA's pulling back a little bit. Alphabet can't stop, won't stop, still making fresh highs there. Apple with the slight little bit of a pullback. Softy still pushing highs. Amazon pulling back into this 200 level. I'm watching Amazon as well. Let's see if that can kind of bring it in. Tesla, oh boy, are we kind of churning a lot of I guess volume here around this 243. So I do have it on watch. Kind of observing it closely. This was also that prior day consolidation low here, pulling up the chart. Look at this right there. That's what I'm talking about. So we're having a bit of a pit stop here at that 242.70 mark right here, where we did catch that end of day strength. Prior low there at 240s, which also confluences with some of this pre-market action there. So let's see if we can catch a little bit of a bid. VWAP sitting all the way at 248, so about 4 points away from that as of right now on Tesla, and I guess Amazon as well. Going to be interesting. It is attempting to push prior day highs. You know that if you were watching on Wednesday and even I guess Tuesday here, a lot of volume and interest happening here at that 200. We consolidate there for a couple hours there, 2 o'clock all the way into the close on Tuesday is just chopping and churning in around that 200. The next day we open up, you can't even break that high, and you flush all the way down to 197s, and we're having a little bit of trouble here once again at that 200 mark on Amazon as of right now, with the market pulling back that aggressively, and then look at that wicking right back up. So the question becomes, how much time is left on this 15-minute candle to print here? I got 11 minutes and 30 seconds, so still decent chunk of time here. 245 coming in here on Tesla, so maybe catching a little bit of a bid here, but I'm going to stay a little bit more patient as it is technically still well within the downtrend that we've been holding since the open there. We are attempting to push, we are attempting to break, but again, on a day where I'm not seeing the same kind of action that I did for Tesla right off of the open, it is distinctly different, and that's something I got to do better at. It's like, all right, well, if for the past 2 days I saw reasons to get long right off of the open, and now it's looking distinctly different, and we failed the 250, which way should I be going?
Find
right?
strong stock.
Gotta stay nimble, gotta stay on my feet, you know, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee is the mental that you have to kind of adopt with some of this price action.
I love it. That's why he was the greatest. Maybe not the best pound for pound, but he was certainly the greatest. Koss just reopened, so it opens right at 15, so takes them out on the open. If I even sniff this thing getting back through the halt price, then we jump out of it, but we want to see how far this one can go. I'm expecting 13 to have a bounce. So if I see any kind of a bounce off the 13 level in this flush on Koss, then we're going to get out of it. Mara now trying to challenge that 19.5. I don't have anything else short. It's just these two names. So unfortunately, we didn't catch anything in AMD. We didn't catch anything in NVIDIA. ARM wants to defy us and not challenge VWAP. It just bounced off the 170 level. So we do have some eyeballs on ARM looking for a potential short pop. Tesla's looking okay, but we say why not just go long strong stocks?
Yes.
Apple, Softies,
yeah.
Meta, Apple trending up like it's known to do above VWAP, holding an early trend here on Apple. I think you gotta look for a dip buy in something that's a little bit stronger would be the way to go. Oh, there's the break of 19.5 on Mara. So we just had it break support. If it reclaims it and gets back above 55, we're gonna jump out of this trade. So the first short, certainly working. Just wish we had caught a little bit something else. Koss is dead, get out, my man. Well, if it's dead, then it would be a good short. I would say, if anything, Koss is catching a bit of a, whoops, that's still Mara. Koss is trying to catch a bid at that $15 level. But as long as it holds underneath the halt price, I'm going to hold on to the short, looking for that $13 level here. I'm not long Koss, guys, I'm short. The purple means short, and then green is just sort of covering the short. If I had no short position, that would be me getting long, but no, we're shorted. Still looking for something strong that we can buy into. And I feel like Apple at VWAP, it's just been a good stock. We've been trading it all week. I'd rather go back over there.
Yeah, just I guess trying to get with the trend here on Tesla on this pop back up. Again, nothing too crazy, not my original bias either. So I guess I'll look for reasons to really kind of throw this position out the window to flip here on Tesla, but just trying to get with the trend here. Amazon pulling right back through that 200 as of right now, but the market is super strong here. Softy still pushing for fresh highs. Alphabet as well. NVIDIA's holding some of its prior day levels here as well. 126 is that end of day kind of dip low that we had in the last 15 to 30 minutes there. Yeah, Amazon's still teetering in and around this 200, so I'm gonna be a little patient to kind of let that come in effectively there. What do we do with that 200? There is some acceleration here on Tesla, pushing all the way up 246s and some change. So it just slaps all the way up, almost into VWAP here. VWAP being at 247.93 that I have, and I know that 246 was a bit of an interesting level prior day as well when we kind of pushed off of it. End of day, kind of a bit of a resistance area. So let's see what we do in and around here. I'm giving it a wide risk here. More than willing to kind of give it some breathing room, see what it does. If it's going to catch a bit off this level and really accelerate to the upside, that's perfectly fine. I'm more than willing to kind of, like I said, throw it out and be like, all right, let's flip over to the other side here. But accelerating nonetheless, extremely strong to the upside. You guys are gonna love this Tesla. What's going on?
Now, first off, like for Tesla, like I'm waiting. Like the level I liked was clearly the 248 to 246. So when it comes back into VWAP, I'm waiting for that level because 248 is that kind of line in the sand. So wait for 47s. But Koss just did the dirty. So we had the short, we got 15s out on the 70 short. Actually slightly under, it opened up, but just came right back and took out the 15.5, and now you're going into the long. So suddenly, Koss right back above that halt price. We played the short on that halt, and then Mara trailed out. So Mara was the first short they were in that front of that 20 level, but it just held on to 19.5. So we just jumped out of that. Might look for a reload. VWAP can be a reload for trend down. I still like this for a trend down name. We only wanted to be short that. So we're in Tesla off a key price area on Wednesday off that close. If it breaks 248 and holds above, we got to be able to get out. But wow, what price action over there in Koss. If this reclaims the high, it could get real nasty. That's why you have to have outs for shorts, right? Like take your profit and run. Let's go to Adara.
Keep an eye on XHG here. This one is formerly known as FLJ. This is a small cap currently known as the Exchange Group. This one has run in the past as FLJ. Not seeing any news on this right now, about 35%, but market cap under $4 million. And we do have a short float of about 3.8%. So XHG here topping and turning up about 35%, guys.
XHG. Right. There's always going to be something. Like when one thing gets boring, there's always going to be another new hot one that you can go look at. But you try to stay focused a little bit. I do have Koss up, and we're pretty locked and loaded on that one. NVDA, by the way, so Tesla we're in, NVIDIA also trending down. So if you're respecting what's going on in NVIDIA, it's trending down. I think this could be just as good an opportunity, maybe off the 27. ARM was the other name we're looking at for a VWAP play. It's there now. Like it just made VWAP. There's a wick above 175, but this looks pretty strong. So usually I want to short the thing that looks weak. If it had failed right at VWAP, I'd probably be in it, but that's strong relative to NVIDIA. That's strong relative to the rest of the chip names in there, and so is AMD. So no look for the short on AMD. Apple, are we even getting a shot at Apple? You think we're getting a shot at the Apple long?
Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna stick around and kind of stay that strong,
I just canceled my VWAP bid. That was $1.20 ago. Thanks a lot, Apple, for absolutely nothing. But Apple pressing, it's going to get 225 today. No questions. We're going to get 225 on Apple. I think it's pretty much inevitable. So you just got to find a place to join the trend. Every previous high is going to be a dip level for me. That'll be 223.5. And watch out, Tesla wants this 248 as well.
Oh boy.
So we went from short to long, and long to short, long ideas to short, and it just took out that 248 level. So it takes it out, I'm out. Not messing around with it. We wanted it to 248. It just broke 248. You got to hunt for the next available trade. This market is looking hella strong.
Yeah, this is that's an aggressive bid happening there on Tesla. Really, really aggressive. So it's like, yeah, definitely did not have the best idea kind of getting involved that early there on the short. Did kind of piece in a little bit there, but the 249 coming in real hot, 240, 250 well within kind of there, the range there. So looking at all the moving averages that have broken, it is aggressive to the upside here, wicking very, very strong. So the bid definitely did catch off of that 242 and some change there. What was that low? 242.46 is being the day low as of right now here on Tesla. So very, very aggressive bid. Now look at the market as well. I got to be paying attention to that. 20,500 ripping through straight through that level there. So we were testing some of those levels earlier on this week, and we finally made it past that 20,500 here on the NQ. 200 still holding very, very well here on the Amazon. So no, really, I'm going to give that one some more time there. VWAP on Tesla is 247.91, and we are pushing into this VWAP area here as of right now. Taking a little bit of a pullback off of that 250. What else do I got here? There is that what is it? 200 period moving average here on a shorter time frame. We're rejecting some of that as well. So gonna be a little bit more patient to really push into this Tesla move. Again, if it's going to prove me wrong, it'll be somewhere in and around some of these prices here. So I'll I guess pack my patience for that one. Let us know in the chat what you guys are trading off of the open there. Very, very aggressive and aggressive volatility. AMD. Apple, Softy, AMD, Google, all super, super strong on the day today.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Apple's super strong, but AMD's right back up retesting those highs. So, hey, you know what? Good thing we didn't short this one. I think if you stood in front of that at VWAP, you've just been blown away. So let's look for a high of the day break, maybe pull right back into VWAP. I just want to double check Apple here. That's still, wow, we might have 225 before we get a dip buy on Apple. Amazon, what else is going on for Amazon? Amazon, maybe a bounce off VWAP, but that's failing that $200 level. Do not like it nearly as much. Mara could be right back in the pocket for me. We got out at 1955, but it's coming right back into that top. So got to be patient. We're shorting it on a curl of $20, so we wait for it to get a little bit tighter to that $20 level, and then we'd look for a short. I see in the chat a lot of people have mentioned that Micron has not been very good. Wow, like this is easily the weakest of the chip names, down 3%. But as the market's catching a bid, I think even this, you wait for it if you want to short. Probably this would have been a better short to pop than some of the others because you've got a pretty clean level which you can reject. Like where it broke out on Wednesday, 133 half, you're only getting back to that now. So it's lagging everything else on this bounce, which would make it a better short opportunity, I do think. And Tesla's next level is 250. I guess maybe we wait till 250 to take another shot on Tesla. But Micron's suddenly looking like the better opportunity if we find any kind of a curl. So remember, Mara 20, we're not there yet. Just waiting for it to get back there. That was an early win off 20. We'd see if we can get it again. Let's go to Adara. It's 10 o'clock. What's happening now? Oh, when's the read?
Market's pushing higher here. We do have these 15-minute chart here on the S&P 500. No economic data coming out today at 10, but earlier today at 8:30 a.m., we did get some data, non-farm payrolls, and unemployment rate coming higher than expected. Unemployment rate notably 4.1% compared to the previous and estimate of 4%. So interesting look there for unemployment and some of this other employment and labor-related data here. So really the only major economic data we're going to be getting throughout the day here. Some stocks on watch include NVIDIA, NVDA rejecting off VWAP here, getting a downgrade to neutral from New Street Research with a $135 price target. We also have Macy's, this one up about 10% right now. Wall Street Journal reporting that Arkhouse and Brigade increased their previous offer. Initially, they were looking for Macy's at $24 a share. Now, reportedly interested at $24.80 a share. So nice look for M. Last but not least here, Coinbase and some of these other crypto-related names. This one I have up here, COIN. Pushing higher after initially falling to the downside. We did have Bitcoin hitting a 4-month low around that 54,000 level. So keep an eye on these crypto-related stocks and what's been a pretty interesting Friday, guys.
Oh, it's been an interesting Friday. And here comes HOD on AMD. Ideally, I want this thing to fail break the top, pull right back in there, maybe trap, and then get a bit of a dip buy and we can get a better price. 224.50 now on Apple, so we're still looking for that push into 225. We are back into Mara. I feel like we're almost even a little bit early on Mara, as there is no curl. Like it just wicked above. If we make a fresh high, just make sure my stop is still in there. On Mara, oh, that's right, it's not because I trailed out of the last one, so we'll get it back in there. If we break this high on Mara, you got to get the you-know-what out of Dodge. It's a similar story to what happened in Tesla. Like Tesla failed at that 248 level. We shorted it to VWAP. It failed there. Now you're pressing the 250. You got to take the medicine. If we fail 250, that can be a separate trade a couple of dollars later. But here comes 225 on Apple. I'm expecting there to be size on the offer, and we maybe look at a potential breakout. And don't want to lose sight of Koss altogether. Koss still trending to the upside, or at least attempting to, putting in a higher low, but no breakout of the top just yet in KOSS. I think that is going to be incoming. Okay, here's Tesla testing that 250. It just tagged it almost exactly. I didn't see a break of 250. That's 99.95. Wow, really?
Yeah, it's it kind of like popped up into it. I was like, all right, well, 250, that was my mark to be like, if we're aggressive into 250, I don't necessarily want to stick around anymore. Stopped out, which seems like near the high as of right now, but we are kind of flipping that trend, that morning flush, definitely reversing off of that 245 reclaim there as of right now. So yeah, I was definitely wrong on that trade. What's the next trade? I'm asking. Let's see what we do in and around some of this 250 level. 100 still coming in here on 200 still coming in here on Amazon. So gonna be a little patient for that one. ARM pushing all. Wow, ARM actually went, Neil. ARM is at 181, so fresh highs on ARM. Wow, definitely not not looking at some of the best names as of right now in terms of the longs here. ARM pushing extremely aggressively past some of its all-time highs there. 181 testing right now. AMD 169 as well on AMD. So yeah, market is very, very strong here. Apple, Microsoft, and Google being some of the strongest names. What's going on?
I'm just, it's not dumbfounded, but we talk about this all the time. Sometimes the best trade you make is the one that you don't make, right? Like this morning, Koss was pretty solid. Obviously, like Mar has been okay, and then AMD was all right, but you lose on Tesla. But I could have lost pretty darn big on ARM. We were looking for a VWAP short, but it just never gives you an entry. It never showed any kind of a setup for a lower high to short. So you don't take the trade. And now it's screaming to the upside. Thank goodness we did not take that. Oh, maybe we're not going to get 225 yet. Yet is the key word on Apple. I don't think it's not over just yet. I mean, you can always go another lower high and trend back up. So let's look to see if we can catch any kind of a bid here on Apple into 225. See if we can get the long, something in front of 224 into the 225 level. Then we can go long, scalp it, and then the 225 breakout can be its own beast. I just want to double check on AMD. AMD already broken. Wow, AMD is just flying. Hasn't been a dip buy to get in on this move. Previous high, 168.5 or so. Let's look to see if we can get that as we go to Adair at the desk. Just back to us for a quick little second there. So we still like Apple on the bid, still like AMD to go for a dip buy as well. And looking over at Tesla, Tesla's still failing the 250. I did not get in on that wick. We could have jumped right back into the short and taken the next level. There's still plenty of room. It's making lower highs, but I'd like to get it above 249 and have a tighter stop than we had before. Let's go back up to Adara.
Part of the show brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Benzinga Pro paid for itself on day one. That's a real review from a real trader using Benzinga Pro. Thanks to Benzinga Pro's exclusive news alerts, real-time market insights, and community of over 6,000 dedicated traders, it's the fastest way to trade the news. And right now, you can try Benzinga Pro for the lowest price we offer during our July 4th sale. Use the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description box and join Benzinga Pro today.
Wow, AMD. Wow. That's all I got to say. 170 just broke. Still looking for the first dip buy. Oh, we were just able to get a little bit more of Mars. So we've got to go over to what we're actually in. So Mara wicked the 20 level again. So there's your wick at 20. We just caught a little bit at 1997. We're gonna get this out some in front of VWAP because the way this market is going, when I look at this on a higher look, like you got a double top in here. You did a false break of the pre-market low, which can be bullish, and then you could put in a higher low. You've got to respect that move. So yes, the short on Mara is working into VWAP again. I'm actually going to take another leg out here if I can, right in front of VWAP. We'll hold for the bottom again, but if it puts in a higher low, this is not a go for it the third time. This is a recovery play, and you could be absolutely rallying into a breakout. So there won't be a third short, not if the market is screaming the way that it is at this point. So we'll see what happens there, but thankful that we're able to get a good level at that 20 on MARA, and here comes AMD back into 69. I like this to the previous high. So just grab some at 22, but we'd like to be getting some underneath 69 and maybe into that previous high, then worry about VWAP a little bit later. What a screamer. It could be failing that 170, but the other way I like to look at this is these even dollar levels recently. The first break, meh. The second break can be gangbusters. If this gets back above 170 again, there's no limit to where you could go. Remember the other side of this equation for AMD. You've got this long channel that it's been in is broken. Once this is broken, I'm no longer thinking short on AMD. The short is when it's not failing this, or when it is failing this channel. Now it's just a long till it's back underneath, and that's like 166. So I got to favor long opportunities as long as it's doing this. Like look at that 166. That's the bottom of the channel on the daily chart, and that's exactly where it turned. If we're not under there, I'm looking dip buy to here, I'm looking dip buy at VWAP, I'm looking dip buy at 166, and if I lose when it breaks a channel like that, fair enough. because the explosive upside is insane. Like 175 is the top, the next resistance level. It's a long way from here. So I want to give it every chance to get there. And Apple doesn't care that I want a 225 break. Apple's just taking its patient time. I'm trying to get a dip in front of 224, but Apple doesn't seem to care what I want.
Look at the markets come in here, Neil. Absolutely crazy. This like wick and wash that we've been. Yeah, it's like we wick up high, we bid right back up, wash all the way back down. Exactly, wax on, wax off. We are waxing both ways here, especially on the ES, the NQ pulling right back through that 20,500. Look at that 200 failure to follow through as of right now here on Amazon. 99s coming in, and it seems like I got out, again, very predatory action. I got out into that test of 250. I'm like, yeah, I don't necessarily want to get involved if we push past that 250, and oh boy, does it come right back in. We're trading below VWAP right now, breaking right back through some of this this trend, that trend reversal. So again, put in players offside on both ways, it would seem. Again, I got to do better with getting this aggressive on the push right back here, but I do like that I got right back involved. Maybe not with the same kind of size here, but I'm looking to build potentially more into this if we're going to continue to push down to the downside. Now again, stocks can only go one of three ways, up, down, or sideways, and if we're going to pick one of those directions here, I'm curious to know which it will be. But as of right now, it seems like we're picking sideways. We flushed down heavy down to 243s. We pulled right back up to 250s. Now we're pulling right back in. So that 250 seems quite interesting, and we know that 246 right here has been quite interesting as well over the past couple of days. So that 246, I'm going to continue to watch how much of a bid can we get off of this level. The hourly chart looking good, the 30-minute chart looking good, the 15-minute chart looking interesting here as the futures come tumbling down, especially the ES to the downside here. So I got to stay a little bit patient here. And again, a little too aggressive, a little too early on some of these. Well, especially this one right here on these shorts. But in and around that 250 seems like an interesting area. Let's see if we can kind of claw our way back here on the day today. Spider pushing for fresh lows as well. Yeah, looking like the ES. Let's see if that low of pre-market consolidation on the Spider gets taken out. 551 I have as that price on the SPY. So let's see, what is AMD up to? ARM, wow, what's the high on ARM? 181.88. All right, so still kind of the same high that we were observing earlier there. SMH to the downside. AMD is the only one who is really exhibiting some strength other than ARM here in the chip basket here on the day. GME pushing. Koss still kind of within its opening range there, Neil.
I'd say Koss is turning into a nothing burger. And but I wouldn't get too deflated when it comes to Koss, because you can make a late rally. Like on Wednesday, I keep wanting to say yesterday or Friday, but on Wednesday, you really had to wait that one out. Like it had a consolidation, and then the really big move happened a little bit later in the session. I just want to quickly show Rivian in here. Rivian, there's lower highs. If we continue this trend, I want to look for shorts on this. It was a flat bottom break at 14.5. It was a fail of the 200 period moving average. So we didn't get the flat bottom break, but now we're into it in front of that 1450. So if we break that trend, we got to be able to dump out. But as long as it's underneath, I think we want to give this one a chance. Apple, we finally got a dip buy on Apple. Let's get out of the 15-minute and go back to the 3 for you guys. Bounced off 224 and a 224.5, looking good. But AMD is defying all attempts here. We're pulling back into VWAP. I feel like I'm just getting in too early on these. Like you're still holding an upward trend. Instead of waiting for it to bounce off the trend, I'm just getting in out in front of it. So if you go to the pre-market low, which I don't really like, you're talking 167. It's only made one bottom, and I'm not letting it make a second, which can be a mistake. It's like let it make a second bottom and then maybe load into it. So VWAP can be a thing here at that 168, but as the market pulls back, Apple's looking stronger than AMD. It's still out in front of VWAP and looking okay, but the thing that would concern me on the chips is look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is breaking the lows, breaking 126.5, not the low of the day just yet, but continuing to trend downside. So NVIDIA weak, AMD still holding VWAP for now, but if all the chips go the same way, you got to be careful of that long. I still want to play strength for strength and keep it in the pocket that way, but it's 10:13. Usually you want to revisit your ideas and say what's actually happening on the stock. Well, NVIDIA, that's a trend down. That's a clean rejection of Wednesday's top, a lower high at VWAP, and retesting the lows. So I can't do anything but think NVIDIA is weak. AMD holds VWAP, we continue with that long. And then Mara, the other one that we're tracking, yeah, VWAP is definitely looking pretty good on Mara. If I was flat on this stock and not trading it and had no preconceived notions about this, I think I'd be looking long. And if that's the case, I cannot be reloading this a third time at that 20 level. I can hold for the low again, but it's starting to look a little bit strong here on Mara. You got to be able to respect what you see out in front of you. Even if the shorts worked, it's still trending to the upside, right? So be happy that I'm able to get something on it and maybe look for something else that we can fade into.
Yeah, for sure. Chopping in and around some of this VWAP area here as well on Tesla. I have VWAP at 247.94, and we're kind of just chopping in and around some of these prices. Yeah, the ES ripping kind of back up, holding some of these pre-market wick lows. You can see that that 830? Yeah, the 830 number kind of defining. I guess not necessarily defining, but we popped to the upside, we popped to the downside. Dropped to the downside, and then you made some significant wicks, and we're holding within that range here on the ES here. NQ, slightly different story. We did break above it, but we're coming right back into it here. 20,500 seems like an interesting area as well. We are holding, I guess, a higher low here at that 246 as of right now on Tesla. So gonna try to see if we kind of come back down and push into that 246 at all once again, or do we just continue back to the upside? Has the bid actually caught on, or are we taking a little bit of a breather here, Neil? Because, you know, Friday's a bit of an options day as well, and I'm curious to know how many of those options expiring today are really going to kind of come into fruition for a lot of people trying to hop on the bandwagon of Tesla having such a euphoric and strong move this whole week here.
Apple 225.
Apple 225.
It's got about 300,000 on the off. Nope. It had 300,000 on the offer or so. That just got taken out, but a bit of a fail break. It got up to 08s and now right back into the 80s. I did not add on a break. So we've been talking about these even dollar breaks a little bit later. Sometimes it's the second time it pushes or the dip buy that you want to go off of. So there is your press to 225. I'll look to try to add on a dip buy maybe halfway or back into 224 instead of taking this break. The other side of that equation could be it just consolidates higher, I don't get a dip buy, and we look for the secondary breakout through Apple 225. But I want to hold on to this long as it's looking as strong as it is. The market itself is trying to pull back underneath that 930 top. So, you know, it's not an easy upward trend at this point. Like, you still have that big open move. We're up, down, we're around, all that good stuff on the number, and then right at 930. So that's an 830 number, obviously. You make the high here at 2050. Then right at 930, we make the high at 2050. So you're getting a battle here at that same price area where we had the economic data, where you had the opening range top. So if we don't punch through it, that would be a place to look for shorts. I like Rivian here short. I like Mara. But I'll be adding to Rivian. But if we punch through this high and start rallying, I got to be looking for places to add to Apple, places to add to AMD, which are both strong. Wish I could tell you add to ARM, but the long arm of the law, Randy, is off to the races and not even stopping. Apple 225. You think Apple's strong? Look at that chart. Like ARM was tanking, was 170 to 182. And now trying to pull off VWAP. So it's an absolute beast. Let me double check NVIDIA. NVIDIA is still kind of, I don't know, NVIDIA doesn't look all that great. NVIDIA is still looking relatively weak. But the market is resilient today for now. Thanks for the coffee, brother.
Thanks, Randy. I'm still kind of watching this Tesla move here. It's pulling, it's a little bit of resistance when it comes to the VWAP as of right now. So I like that. That's kind of finally getting on a bit of the right side of the move here. 246 coming right back in. We talk about that 246 being a little bit of an interesting area from prior day, and that's where this prior wick is as well. In and around that 246, we are catching a little bit of a bid here, but it would seem seam off of, if you look off of the pre-market, 253 highs, off of the opening range high, 252 and some change, and now we've made a lower high distinctly right at 250. So we failed to follow through at 250 with that aggressive strength that pushed us to the upside there through that VWAP. So definitely, I was like, oh, Euphoria. I love selling Euphoria, and maybe I got a little bit too early into that move. What's that?
Isn't that like a show?
Selling Euphoria?
No, Euphoria.
Oh, maybe.
Is that a show? Okay. Yeah. I know things that are happening now and not just 1,000 years ago. But the market euphoria is real, and it's spectacular. And apparently, so Ramin is trolling me right now because she was like busting up laughing at something that she says I said to Randy. I don't think I said anything funny to Randy, but you guys let me know. If it was completely unintentional. I was just like, thank you for the coffee and all that good stuff. So here comes the second press on Apple. We've already rang register the $0.50. If it fails again at 225, I'll jump out and look for the dip buy. AMD now pressing 169 again. I want that 170 on AMD. Let's get to the upside. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth when it comes to AMD. If we get to 169.5, I am on the offer, and I will take some out there. But the market is looking strong. You had to find some longs where the market was strong today. And even if it's not part of your plan, like the initial plan called for other things. Like I wanted Tesla to be a long today. I mean, it is what it is. It just, obviously Tesla didn't work out, but Apple certainly relatively strong. We'll see if we can hold on to this 225. And as the market presses higher, yeah, if we're losing VWAP on Rivian at this moment, I should take some out here and see if we can get something in the quarter range. So we'll get something out on Rivian because the market is trying to press higher, but that short looking good. The Mara short looking okay. Apple is an absolute rocket ship. Alt Styles says, check out Palantir, Neil. If I don't know where Sean's hat is, and I'm not wearing Sean's hat, but the hat would be on, right? Like the hat would definitely be on. $27 on PLTR, which means we are now within 50 cents of the big break level here. $27.50 on Palantir. Watch out for that. Huge, huge level incoming. As we go to the desk, the screen for the small cap recap. Desk.
IWM very much to the downside here. Near low of days, down almost 1% right now for the Russell 2000. On a day that's been pretty interesting. Koss, one of the small caps to keep an eye on here. You have a market cap of just under $100 million, float of about 5 million shares. This one up on some speculation of Roaring Kitty's involvement. And Novus Bio also on watch here. ANVS, this one ran on Tuesday with some positive research on its Parkinson's treatment. Today up on what looks like a continuation play. They do an 11% short float. Last but not least, we have XHG. This one is the exchange group, formerly known as FLJ. It has run in the past as FLJ. No news on that stock either, but it is up about 50% with higher lows. Worth noting as well with XHG, it does have a $4 million market cap and a float of about 3.8% short float, guys.
There we go, right. XHG. We just got 169.5 on AMD, so we'll ring the Reggie there. Apple still pressing this 225 level. It's trying to hold above. It just did another break of the local high. It's not at a spot that I really, really want to be adding to it. Like I just feel the trend is pretty clean at this point. So if it fails 225, a bounce off of like 60s or 70s can be the spot to add. So we're going to look for that pullback here on Apple if we're going to continue trend. I just saw in the chat someone asking what my target was on Mara, low of the day. Like if it's going to hold underneath VWAP, I think low of the day makes a lot of sense in here. So we'll see if we can get that. And I want to try to reload underneath 1440 on Mara as well. But Apple still trying to go as a market right back to that 2050. Right back to that 2050 and underneath. So maybe we're not going to be able to add tomorrow, but we can get that bid one more time. Just going to throw it at the low of the day here because if we bounce off it a second time, I don't want to get missed.
Yeah, this 246 is churning quite a lot of bit of volume here. We attempted some pops up into that VWAP area, 247s, and keep getting kind of pushed right back down again. Again, like I said, we've been bidding up for 3 days straight, and this is the 4th day of price action here on Tesla. That 246 was a little bit interesting prior day, and it is kind of holding as of right now on the bid there. Prior wick lows as well. We are consolidating, chopping and churning around that 246. So I guess I did get a little bit aggressive for a push back down. What is the opening price on this name? The opening price is 249 and 249.81, and we are still trading well below that opening price. Day low at 242.46. So 246 prior day. If you want to look left on the chart, you can kind of see prior day we did a bit of consolidation, chop and churn in and around this 246 level, and we've been doing a lot of churn once again on these bounces here, trading back below VWAP here on Tesla. So I'm kind of patiently waiting, watching. 200 is coming right back in on Amazon there. So I've got to keep an eye out for that one as well. 247 is coming right back in. So maybe we are holding this level as of right now. I have no idea, but I gotta keep on observing this. The only thing I'm really observing right now is that there's a lot of, I guess, churn happening at that 246 mark. So I do have to kind of be, like I said before, be a little nimble and see what we have in store off of this 246. Are we going to break down? Are we going to bounce? We are trading a little bit in between this kind of a chop that we've been doing all day here on Tesla. So still no real distinct move one way or the other, kind of a sideways consolidation happening as of right now. So we've got to stay patient for this one to come in potentially.
Yeah, it's making a pretty interesting wedge. Like Tesla's got this like lower highs and higher lows thing going on right in. So, it's going to make a decision at some point really quickly. AMD just broke the 170. If it loses 170, we're going to jump out of this. We got 168.83, kind of like a weird random price, but it is what it is. That's where we grabbed it. If we lose that 170, I'm going to get out. Koss, I wanted to make sure we're covering Koss. Koss had a halt down, held that $13 level. So if you like 13 bucks on Koss, you got it twice. It tried to break 15 again. Ooh, it would be real nice if it could just break out that 15, get above VWAP, but 13 is where you wanted it to hold. Aftermarket highs on Wednesday there on Koss. So we'll see if it can make another bounce off 13 even. Apple just pressed again through 225. Yeah, this is not even giving you much of a dip buy at this point. We're getting consolidation at the 225 level. I think we're going to have to respect it. Oh, there goes AMD back through another fail of the high. I'm on Apple here, but I'll show you what just happened on AMD. It just wicked the top again, so I just jammed out of it. We'll go dip buy hunting along the trend on AMD and see if we can get another time there. But, no looking any gift horses in the mouth. You got to ring the register when you can. Failed high break there. A little bit more extreme than what we're seeing on Apple 225. Like Apple at 225, it's holding this, even though it fails 225, it's still holding the upward trend. No big, massive rejection candles just yet. Barry, Chewy is running a short for you. I actually have not looked at Chewy today. So while we're calmly sort of waiting for a dip buy opportunity on AMD next, Chewy 25. Oh, Chewy 25. Yeah, you need to already be in this. Yeah, this is, like, it's obviously trending to the downside. Previous support at 25, and it looks like it just wicked the top. You know what? If we're being more precise about it, not yet. So it's not 25 even. This high is actually like 25 and a half. So when you zoom in, just zoom in a little bit further. It's so strong into here, you let it get into resistance. I would at least, at minimum, be waiting for that. But there's weaker names out here. I mean, Mara's holding weakness, Rivian's holding trend down. I would even argue the short that you've got going there, Obi, on Tesla. That's looking like it could break channel down as well. So I'm looking at maybe getting back into this. Chewy, fair enough, but I don't know that I want to fight a squeeze name. We've got other things you can short.
Yeah, I think like we rebid up into 247s and then insta-slam right back down into 46s. So it's like, all right, well, not insta-slam, but like aggressively, distinctly differently slammed back into 246s. So maybe some more business wanting to be done here at that 246 mark as of right now. We're still holding. We dipped down heavy. We started printing 70s, 245 70s, and then kind of reclaimed that 246 as of right now. But yeah, lower highs and there's some size on the ask right there, 112 lots, get taken out in the 20s. So 246 as of right now, holding quite interestingly, or price action in and around this 246, very, very interesting. We talk about it, how it was a little bit of a level yesterday, but it went all the way up to 247s and some change, and then drops right back in. So a trend on the, well, this kind of trend off the 250 rejection. So that's kind of what I want to keep in mind, is we did reject 250 to the T here as of right now, and we're kind of sandwiched in between that 250 to 246 mark, about a 4-point range here happening on the Tesla. What are the markets doing? The market's catching a little bit of a bid. We've reclaimed that 20,500 as of right now. So a little bit of chop and churn off of some of those levels here. Amazon pulling back in, making a lower high off that 200. Oh boy, okay, all right. Maybe that's starting to set up here. Attempts to push that 200, goes to 200 halves, and then makes a lower high right on top of that 200 on Amazon. So maybe that's I guess giving us a little bit of direction there. We know what it's been trying to do with that 200 over the past week or so. So I'm gonna be a little bit more patient. Let's see if we can get some lower highs there on Amazon for a potential push back down to the downside there. VWAP on Tesla sitting at 247.82s. We're churning in between both. Like I said, this VWAP and this 246 as of right now on Tesla. Very, very aggressive price action here.
Aggressive.
Both ways.
B, aggressive. You got to be aggressive. So Tesla is I just heard Dara just said aggressla, and I almost said it myself, although I guess I just did say it. But I got to think I want to join that, or do I just add to, I'm looking at the charts of Tesla and Rivian and wondering, do I add to Rivian or jump back into Tesla? I know Tesla can give you a better percent move potentially. Actually, no, that's not true. Rivian's down 2 points. We can get just as much out of Rivian. Next short, we'll try to pop that. But 225 just held very well on this last little bid. And now if we lose 225, I jump out and look for a deeper dip buy. But there could be a chance for this to hold on this little dip and then get another long here on Apple, or add to it, I should say. We're already long at 224. But let's get to Adara. We've got the crypto update. And Mara, I need to make a decision. Do I want more of Mara? Let's see what's going on with Bitcoin.
Of course, the big story here with Bitcoin is that massive drop we had at one point, trading at a 4-month low, just above that $54,000 area. Bitcoin also set up for its worst week in over a year if these losses hold. So a lot of this being caused by the fact that the defunct, bankrupt crypto estate here, Mt. Gox, doing some payouts here. Actually, $170 billion wiped off across the cryptocurrency market in 24 hours. Again, some of this is speculated to have to do with the Mt. Gox payout, but quite the look there for BTC. 1, 2, 3, 4 straight days of downside. Low, as I said, we have recovered from the lows of the day here, currently around that $55,500 level. Ethereum also weak here, falling well below the 3,000 level. Actually, this one was at 2,700 earlier. Now we're around 2,900 for ETH, but weak across the board for all of these crypto-related names. Ethereum, BNB, Ripple all down about 5%, Dogecoin down 6.5%, Cardano down 9%. Lots of weakness here for the crypto market as we deal with that $170 billion sell-off, guys.
170. Ooh. So that Mt. Gox being the story, it's a big deal, but I do question how much is going to actually sell. We'll see. It's not a guarantee that just because like a bunch of people get their Bitcoin and it's deep in the money, they're going to dump it all. Like they can make a lot of profits given where it was and how far it's gone by selling portion. I think that's more likely. But there's the fail at 225 temporarily on Apple. So we get the 24 and a 25. Now we'll hunt and look for the next available opportunity here on TSLA. AMD is still on Apple, I should say. Why did I just say Tesla? But AMD still trending up. It failed the 170. I want to look for a VWAP retracement or some kind of lower high to be able to play back into the long. The market's strong. It's up 0.5%. It was up on the number initially, pulled back, but now we're kind of trending higher. So looking for some dip buy opportunities, as I was just able to get more Rivian in here at VWAP. It gets doing it. This is a very similar chart to Tesla. A couple of spikes at the open, and then a very steep trend. Higher lows and higher highs forming a wedge. If there's going to be a failure in the EVs to follow through, I think either one of these are looking pretty darn good. Back over to Koss quickly. It's already 10:30. Koss holds 13, no break of 15. So Koss is still penalty boxing it right now, despite holding a somewhat of a double bottom at the 13 even level. I still think this has a chance to rip some faces off. If you're not failing 13, let alone like the $10 level where we closed, this is still in a nice upward trend. You can just see the clear failure, 16s and 17s. Get above 15, and then we can start maybe jamming to some upside.
Yeah, we're coming into the prior bar low of the 30-minute candle here on Tesla at 245.40s. So I'm kind of just watching that, but that 246, oh boy, is that really kind of chopping and churning? A lot of push, a lot of kind of volatility happening in and around these levels. So a lot of participation nonetheless at 246s, and look at that, rips right back up into 246.70s. So we have been kind of churning. We've kind of, I guess, been quite aggressive there as well. So I do have to kind of be a little patient here. That is very, very strong back to the upside, breaking out 247.50s. Coming in very aggressive. So yeah, that pop, again, we talk about some of this price action being so predatory in and around some of these levels. We've seen like it get super aggressive back towards VWAP and then aggressive all the way back down again. So again, you got to be able to kind of sidestep some of these moves here. Let's see what we do with that 247. Again, we keep having this strength pushing. What's the R2?
I don't know, isn't that sidestep? I don't play Madden, so you tell me. I thought that's
hit the R2. Okay, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I saw this post
I think I'm
in
right
the
about
recent
that.
months where like a trader is using like a joystick, like an Xbox controller to make his decisions and kind of use as trading as his trading keyboard, pretty much, like bidding up, bidding down, buying, selling, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm down with that.
That's very interesting to me. That's like a, I don't know, talking about professional gaming there, really. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to play with the controller. That's very, very, I guess, different. I'm definitely more of like a KBM type of gamer there.
You got to be more flexible than that.
Yeah,
I think it's important to be able to kind of keep up with the times. You know,
maybe,
not be like.
Maybe it's better. Who knows?
You know, you don't want to be one of those old heads that just sits there using like a 25-year-old keyboard because they're just accustomed to like the way the keys work, and they won't even use something modern. Like that would be ridiculous. Like what person would possibly do that?
Yeah, Rivan saying they did that with Ocean Gate. I don't know what that really is.
I can't trade on a normal keyboard.
I have no idea.
Fact.
Old keyboard?
No, like I cannot trade on anything but this old keyboard.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it just these things are ridiculous. I heard that, Wayne. I heard that, Wayne. I'm not a boomer. Okay. Wayne literally just yelled boomer.
Oh, right. Right.
Here comes. So we talked about this trend line on Rivian and Tesla. So there's Tesla attempting the break of that trend line. It gave some overfills, resistance at 8, shorted into 8, take out into 46 is going to be the game plan. Oh, and Apple is pulling back now. So that Apple out, now you're pulling back. I'm not saying it's breaking trend yet, but there is a chance you can break this trend in here and then pull all the way back into VWAP. If we lose this, then I think we could see VWAP there. Neil uses the Power Glove. B-Bot 5,000. I wish I had the Power Glove. My household was a Sega Genesis household, so the Nintendo Power Glove was not something I ever got to use. There was a kid in the neighborhood that had the Power Glove, so I have used it, but yeah, I didn't have that opportunity. You remember that, Sharif? Yes. Sharif is in my age group, so he knows what I'm talking about. So at AMD, looking for a dip buy into support, maybe VWAP. Apple, same thing. The EVs, we are short, and Koss, the other name that we are looking at here, still not breaking $15. Come on, Koss, you can do it. Don't be lame. Break 15. Let's go.
Yeah, this again, kind of just watching this crazy chop here in and around, like I said, in and around VWAP on Tesla, getting very aggressive, both to the upside, both to the downside. Like I said, participants at that 246 definitely holding up as of right now. Very aggressive, reclaiming some of that 247 area on Tesla here. 247 halves printing as of right now. So we might be pushing back to the higher end of that range there. I do have to be a little bit wary here. Again, like I said, that 30-minute candle is reclaiming quite aggressively, and I do have to kind of step out of the way there if that's going to be the case. But VWAP here, 247.70. 246s as of right now. We're just knocking on the door of that VWAP. So I do have to kind of, I guess, respect the action there, respect that price action. 246 was a little bit of a level from prior day, and we keep on kind of knocking on the door of that as well. Bit of a sandwich between that VWAP and that 246 level. So it should be interesting to see how we end off on the day today with respect to where we close relative to that 246, 250 as well. Again, another bit of an interesting price action happening there, making a lower high to the T just underneath that 250 mark there. So futures sideways, ES, NQ kind of sideways as of right now. We've calmed down off of the morning session. Same thing with Amazon, man. Amazon still kind of holding and chopping and churning in and around that VWAP mark. So I got to stay patient with that one there. I don't think that really has something for me as of right now, but we'll see. If it makes a distinct move off of those levels, I will be more than willing to kind of participate in that ticker there.
Yeah.
We're watching Tesla.
The chips, by the way, Micron, just ever so close to VWAP and then another dump. So you're seeing a very distinct grouping here, like Micron holding the lows, can't seem to break back out. If you're going to short something, it probably should be that. You look at NVDA, no breakdown, still lower. It's still holding VWAP, but no break at the bottom here. And then just distinctly different AMD, which is in an upward trend. So like AMD to me is still going to be the long. Tesla is pressing that 248. We might have to give that one up. And I just want to go back over and remember Apple in here, trying to catch something in a 224. So Apple failed at 225. It looks like it's trying to break back into the downside to give us a little bit of the trend. As we go over to the screen, we've got Sector Watch with Adara.
NASDAQ outperforming the S&P 500 right now, and you can basically see that reflected here on this sector board. If you look at technology services, all of the 3 Mag 7 stocks in this sector doing very well today. We also have some strength from Netflix and CRM, so great look there. Electronic technology, a little bit more mixed. We have some chip upside with Qualcomm and AMD. Then we've got names like Micron selling off quite aggressively, NVIDIA down as well, Apple strong. So certainly an interesting look here in this tech sector. Retail trade also helping out here, bringing everything to the upside. Amazon, TJX, and Costco all pretty strong here. A lot of the sectors other than that are going to be notably weak. Finance right across the board. We have bank earnings next Friday to kick off earnings season. Keep an eye on JPM here. Producer manufacturing right across the board. Energy, minerals notably weak. Health services, process industries, transportation, industrials, consumer services, all more or less to the downside. Consumer durables here also a little bit weak, with the exception of Tesla, slightly positive on the day, on and off. So keep an eye on TSLA, continuing to try to hold up this sector, guys.
Yeah, Tesla rips right through that 248. So I did stop out right on that 248. I'm like, all right, well, that's kind of the line in the sand. Looking at some of these prior levels, if we distinctly push through that VWAP, 249 came right in for a test there to the T. 249 being the high print on this candle right here. So yeah, we are just chopping and churning sideways. So you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of breather here. Again, attempting the shorts a little bit too aggressively, and then looking for too much as well. We're in the middle of the range here, and we can very well easily go back up to that 250. Again, observing what happened at that 246, I do got to respect that. And if we hold that 246 and then break VWAP at 247.70s and then push even higher, I do kind of I was like, yeah, no, that's a line in the sand for me. Above 248, I'm out of there for now. If we get more opportunities on that, I will continue to kind of stay involved with the Tesla here. But yeah, not really doing too hot on some of these shorts as of right now on Tesla. We are holding, consolidating that 246. So I got to put back into perspective the bigger picture that's been happening. 246 was held quite well yesterday. So let's go in and talk about that. And Neil saying check AMD. So let's take a quick look at AMD. Okay, all right. So very, very strong to the upside. 170s. Is this? Are these are not all-time highs. Okay, so yeah, I know. We went 227s are all-time highs here on AMD. So yeah, very, very aggressive action on the day here. I did have an alert. What is this? What does this say? MD crossing 154. So yeah, a little bit of a weekly consolidation low, and we held that very well. It seems this week. What do you got going on?
Not the break on AMD, but you're getting a bit of a breakout in the future. I just trailed out of Mara, so one of the last shorts has just come out. Still haven't had a break on Rivan, but that could happen at any second through $14.50. But Mara, we're out of the short, so double top at 20. I feel at this point, maybe I would still take the 20 level again, but it's AMD that I was just going like, wow. So AMD now making another high. We thought dip by, and we didn't get it. But 170, we just tried a 70 level and not going to get that. I'm going to stick around on the bid in front of the previous high for a pullback. I don't want to take a 171 break, but if we can't get a dip by, it's going to have to be that. Apple's not really doing much of a pullback right now. It's kind of diddling in the middle off 225, so the focus has to be on AMD. We've had a couple of longs here, but it could have been a heck of a lot better, because we should have had, when it got back through VWAP, we could have had this. We were long a bit early into 168, but we still want to jump into this long. It's a super big trend, but the bigger story for AMD and why you want to give it a chance to get to 175 is the trend break. Look at this downward channel. AMD's breaking this channel today. It's not insane that AMD could go 7, 8, 9%. Not when it breaks a channel like this. Remember how explosive Tesla got when it broke the channel? I want to give AMD every opportunity to do exactly the same thing. Manuel, absolutely Macy's is strong. And shout out to anyone. I hope some people in the back got this one, because one of the first things I did is I messaged the floor manager. I was like, make sure you look at Macy's 19.5. I wish I did, but I liked other names better, is what it is. But 19.5 on Macy's. They got the deal raised. That's a good local high break. I think you can get to 20, 30, 20, 40 in here before you run into resistance. Didn't mean to draw a trend line. Let me just get rid of that. So big, strong move over there in Macy's. But I'm hunting for another entry into AMD. And hopefully the third time, we'll have a better long than the first couple. Kind of sloppy in there, getting too much out too early, and then not getting it where it's dipping. Sometimes you look at a line like VWAP, and you want to play off of it. Other times you should just play the trend. And the trend here on AMD, now that it's made a couple of higher lows since the open, it's a very steep one. But if you buy back into it, the next stop would be back into the 170 level here on advanced micro devices. An absolute rocket ship to the upside. And breaking fresh highs again.
Yeah, it seems like we're taking a little bit of a slowdown on some of these tickers here, and by some, I mean Apple. Apple taking a little bit sideways there, but something that's super strong still is Amazon. Is not, well, maybe a little bit of Amazon, but especially Goggle here. Goggle high a day 190, and it's trading at 189.91. And same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft's just consolidating sideways here. Apple with a little bit of a turn, so definitely gonna be kind of looking at this one for potential opportunities here if we're going to pull right back in. Again, market is super strong, 20,500. It is a Friday, and we are at the end of the week here. And yeah, 247. So we went to 249, pull back into 247 here on Tesla, and now we are holding. So now my reference, I guess, is going to be this 246. From before. We attempted to push lower. We printed 70s, and then we printed 90s, and we could not get any more lower there. And when I'm in the short like that, I'm just thinking to myself, if I'm in the short and I see something like that at a key level where it's failing to follow through at a 246, I should just get out of the position there. Sellers attempting to push into the bid and pushing into 70s and 90s, and then kind of making incremental higher lows at every push down into the 246. I do have to stay nimble and kind of get out of that one there. Didn't necessarily do that, gave it back to 248. Not the best decision making on my part, but 249 holding as of right now. 250 is a prior high, 249 stepping down on that as well. So I'm gonna be a little bit more patient. If Tesla's gonna go sideways all day, don't necessarily want to hit that range trade as of right now, as the range is compressing. It's not necessarily a clean range here, but Apple looking a little enticing here as it pulls back on the 15-minute, attempting to print a second red candle on the 15-minute here as we pull back down in. Where is VWAP? I'm asking to myself, and VWAP is at 223.96. So 223.96, just shy of that 224 mark. So we're about a half a point away from VWAP here on Apple. Yeah, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be waiting for some of the opportunities to kind of come in. Like I said, my best days are where I'm kind of practicing that patience, waiting for trades to kind of, I guess, fall in, and really be patient for that playbook, for all the criteria to kind of hit there. And Tesla wasn't necessarily doing that well in following some of those rules there for myself, and it's very clear as it shows up in my trading here today. But yeah, let us know what you guys have been trading. We only got about 13 minutes left here until we pass it over to Sharif and Adara for the How to Trade session. But yeah, what do you guys got going on today? MACD support and resistance. Okay, should be interesting stuff. Some
Mac Daddy.
Mac Daddy is an oscillating indicator, right? So yeah, so some good stuff to look at when you're looking at sideways kind of price action there.
All right, here's Apple 224.
Apple 224. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so it's pulling back into view up, but first I got to go to Rivian. Rivian now breaking out. I know it's still down on the day, but we had the short not early, we had the short late. It's now broken the $14.50, so we got to get that you-know-what out of Dodge. Still haven't found a dip buy that I like in AMD, so I'll slap the fail there. But I think it's the bigger fail to not be back in another time on the trend in an AMD, right? Like this is still compressing. I want it back into this trend line. Anything in front of that 170 is going to play, but it's so strong, that last press, that we need to calm down. Just one little bit of a pullback, and we get it. PSNY, I was asked, am I into Polestar yet? No. The thing about Polestar is, the high has been pretty much 97, 98 every single day, the last 3 days. And then it's wicked the top, and then you just get in on the back end. When it's going up, you don't touch it, at least I don't anyways. And then when it makes the top, as long as it fails in front of a buck, I look for that curl. You don't have to use a 15-minute chart. Like I can put it up on a 3-minute and do exactly the same thing. Here, like you wait for the wick high. Once it does it, then I get into the short. Koss stinks. Now it's right back at the low of the day. So no breakout of 15. If we had tried to reshort it, I don't know where I would have got in to try and reshort that one again. But if it cannot hold on to the low of the day, I don't touch this thing until it gets to 10 bucks. It needed to bounce 13 and break out. Instead, you're getting a bit of a dip. It might be worth it if it can hold this low. It might be worth like a low risk, like tight stop long here off of 13. I mean, it's bounced twice in this range. You're only risking about 30 cents here. Let's go to the desk for money talks. Koss trying to hold the lows, it looks like. No? We're not ready? Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting a stop. I don't want to be in Koss without a stop order first. So I always put a stop before I get into a long on a stock like this, because if it fails the bottom, the reason you do that, the reason I do that, I shouldn't say you, I'm talking about myself. The reason I would do that on Koss is I do not want to get into the long as I'm putting the stop order, it breaks the bottom and then goes into like some kind of crazy candle for a halt. I want my stop to protect me, which means get the stop in first before going long 21s here. I thought I put 22. I like that number a little bit better. But hey, I haven't taken this long the 2 times that it worked, so why not do it the 3rd time, and then we'll see what happens. By the way, Tesla 250 break.
Yeah,
yay or nay?
It's building up into it. So like we made a high at 249.
I'm thinking yay.
Yeah, I think it can definitely go with the way it's behaving right now. We held that 246 mark. We're holding above VWAP. We've reclaimed some of the uptrend on a shorter time frame there, but again, still a little sideways, still well within the opening, I guess, 15-minute range if you want to measure it that way. 15-minute range, we are still well within, kind of chopping and churning in between some of those levels here. Let me just point it out on Tesla. Let me just pull up the chart on this screen here so you can see 15-minute range quite extensive, 252 down to a low of 242s and change, and we're just chopping sideways in and around those levels. Now going down to a 3-minute, which I like to use. We are holding, kind of orbiting in and around that VWAP here. 249 did break. We did about 50 pennies above that 249, and then we pulled right back in. So it is quite aggressive, some interesting action nonetheless, again, at that 246. I guess I did have some shorts here prior day off that 246 for a pullback in, but we're holding some of those levels. Look at that pre-market hold on that, after hour holds on that 246 as well. That level comes in as a little bit of a chop and churn with a lot of volume going through it once again today, pushing back towards that 250. But before that, we're going to go to Money Talks with Adara.
DXY continuing its multi-day losing streak here. We're down at least 8 days to the downside here for the DXY on that daily chart. We did get some economic data here. Unemployment rate for June coming in higher than expected, 4.1% compared to the 4% estimate in the previous print of 4%. Non-farm payrolls also higher than expected, 206,000 versus 191,000 expected, but lower than the prior number still of 272,000. We had some Fed comments this morning, well before market opened here from Fed's Williams, saying that the Fed still has to work to reach its 2% inflation target, but that they're seeing significant progress bringing inflation back to the 2% target rate. So next week, we'll have even more economic data to digest. We have the CPI and PPI prints. We're going to have to see how the market reacts to those. Also next week on Tuesday, we have that semi-annual Senate testimony from Fed Chair Powell. So that's always going to be something to keep an eye on as well. Also, not related to Money Talks, but just seeing this headline come in here from the information. Google apparently struggling to lessen its reliance on Apple's Safari because Apple's cut represents 36% of Google's total ad revenue from searches through the iPhone Safari browser. So the remaining 64% means that Google gets around a quarter of all its search revenues. So Google having some potential revenue issues with its search for GOOGL is reported by the information and circulating around here now, guys.
Information. Thank you very much there, Adara. With only about 5 or 6 minutes to go, yeah, Koss just put another lower high. It got up to the 3/4 mark, like 1375 or so, and ran into sellers. I think that's, scalpers. If you're looking at what's happening with the stock, here, let's just draw something like this. Like you have a pretty distinct trend. So, lower highs all the way through into a flat bottom. So when it gets up to that line, very creatively, everyone's just selling when it gets there. It needs to punch through. If it can punch through, that's looking like 13.5, 1360. Consolidate a higher low, and then I'd look for a break into 15. I'm going to get out in front of 15 and look for a break at 15. Tesla, I'm kind of, oh goodness. Sorry, I have like a garbage pail that I'm using to rest my leg on, and every now and then it slips, and that's what just happened. But now Tesla, I'm looking for a 250 break. It feels like it's done its bamboozling, went for a long. Actually, the long actually was probably the best. The short no. Now you're breaking back out. I think a 250 break at this time of day, I don't love it as much as an early break, but I'll still take a 250 break if I can. And AMD. It's not an NVIDIA day. We can like NVIDIA all we want, but it's not the one today. The one today is AMD. There's no question about it. Micron short, AMD long, ARM has been super strong. I keep trying to get a dip buy back into the trend, and AMD doesn't want to let me in. So it's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive the next time we get an opportunity for a dip buy. If you want to short a chip name, this is the one that you should be short. It's Micron. It's Micron at VWAP, and I don't have it. The one that has worked for the short side that I will now look for an opportunity to get back into was Mara. Mara's holding trend. We shorted 20s into VWAP, which is the 3/4 mark, and then back into the 50s a couple of times. If we never get 20s again, that would make the VWAP short at 1975 the place to re-enter. And I do see ANVS. This is the Parkinson's drug. It was phase 3. Was it not ANVS?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was phase 3. Good news for them, which is great news for everybody. It's a horrible disease. It sucks, and I hope somebody crushes it 100%. Look what this sucker did. Consolidation, breakout, making the second story up. I don't want to be short this name. I want to be looking for longs. I hope it doesn't fail that high at 1250, but as long as it's underneath that, I think you look for a dip buy trend. If it's not going to be Koss today, then I want to give ANVS a chance. So Koss, you got a good scalp trade in there, but it needs to follow through. There's been no follow through yet on Koss whatsoever. And JP Suede, I'm not trading Intel today because here, look at ARM. ARM is a big one. I think that's worth our look. AMD has been a rocket ship. I want to get back into that. Micron is clear trend down. That would be the other one to look for a short. On Intel, do I see something maybe. Okay, never mind. When I looked at Intel the last time, it did not look interesting. I looked at it when it was trend down and doing nothing. That actually looks pretty good. So Intel is also breaking this channel. Yeah, Intel looks pretty good. If you're in this Intel break, I endorse this if it can hold above 31 50. It's breaking the high of the day. I'm not chasing a high of the day break at 11, but that is a pretty good looking trend break for Intel. This could be the day. And with this kind of a break, if it gets through 32.30, there's really nothing standing in its way for a relatively decent move on Intel. Now remember, that's Intel. So you're not going to get 5, 6, 7% days on Intel like you will on AMD, but that does look pretty darn good for Intel. I just feel like the break on AMD's channel is going to get you 5, and it could go like 7, 8, 9%. Intel's not going to do that. That's the difference.
Yeah, this is absolutely great. Like I pulled up the AMD chart here, just looking back at it. The prior high being right there underneath that 174.54. So just underneath that 175. Look at that prior kind of level coming in here as well. So a little bit of a chop and churn, a bit of resistance happening here, right underneath that 175 a couple of times there. And I guess, yeah, we attempted to retest that 175 after earnings, but we've only been going a little sideways there in about a 25-point range. 249 is holding as of right now here on Tesla. So it is in the center of the range. I don't want to kind of get chopped up in it anymore there. Like I said, not the best perspective today on Tesla in terms of trying to capture the move there. But Apple holding its VWAP is something that I am kind of turning my head towards, and obviously AMD as well. AMD can't stop, won't stop. Look at this 15-minute chart here. Absolutely beautiful. Just straight greens all the way up, getting higher and higher on 15-minute green candles there. So going down on the 5, you can see how nice and methodic this trend has been. Getting a little bit tighter as we kind of push up towards those 174s, 175 and change on AMD. Same thing with I guess. Let's take a quick look at Apple's chart right here. We have it up here. So 224, 223 and some change was that VWAP mark. And as of right now, look at this beautiful bounce, Neil. 223.86. And what is the low of that candle right here? 223.83. So only about a 3 penny difference in between where the VWAP on Apple is sitting and where we caught a little bit of a bounce there off of that area. So I'm curious to know whether or not we make any lower highs. Do we continue pushing for fresh highs, or do we kind of start to revert the move a little bit here? We are doing in and around one times the relative volume here, but the market is super strong. Do have to keep that in mind and respect that when we're trading some of these large caps like the Mag 7. If we have a strong market tailwind, you can definitely see that sentiment kind of coming in to some of these tickers here as well. ARM taking a little bit of a pullback back down to 176s.
Holy crap!
And it is 11 o'clock. Okay.
Before we go, Koss just lost the bid, so the dip buy, we had good timing on it, but no follow through on Koss, unfortunately. But I think the interest has gone to ANVS, which just made another fresh high, and BENF. So BENF just halted upside here. It's not as much volume, but its float is super tiny. Only 1.5 million on the float. Second halt of the day. I think this is going to be a gap-to-gap halt play, BENF, but ANVS certainly taking the wind out of the sails, I think, of Koss, as that's the low float runner starting to go. So we tried Koss. It bounced a little bit for us, gave us like a 50-cent move, and then could not hold that low of the day. We'll look for an entry into AMD on this dip, which is incoming in the market. But hey, it's time to talk a little MacD.
Oh, yeah.
With the Mac Daddy and the Daddy Mac. Sharif and Adara, go get him.
Thank you. Don't.
I love that intro. Oh.